Wait, sorry. I think I might have been muted. I try that.
I was like, oh no.
And I was like, why does it say mute? We were just talking. Anyway, we'll start that over. Just forget about that.
Wait. Edit that. Cut that. You can cut that out.
Well, can we cut that?
You can cut that out. Edit that out.
Not that we're
That's
live
out.
right now.
We're not live. It's fine. We'll edit that. We'll get it in post.
Okay, there we go.
Got it.
Welcome to episode 88 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam, and Mel has returned to us this week. And again, a big shout out to Kyle for hanging out with me last week, so I didn't have to talk to myself. So I really appreciate that.
Great conversation. I really enjoyed it. We listened on the way home, and it was excellent. So Big shout out to Kyle.
Yes, apparently there's some stuff going on the timeline where they're trying to in the chat, they're trying to guess what you're wearing, and Nikki correctly guessed that you're wearing a blue baseball hat, and Daza says that he calls shenanigans because Nikki has inside information.
You know what?
Brad said Powerbombshells gate.
Finally.
I'll leave that up there for a minute.
It's finally happened. Someone has look. If you look closely, it says Richmond Blue Devils. This is my town. This is
nice.
And I have a plan. I think probably next week or the week after we'll be doing Halloween, and I didn't want to waste.
Yeah,
I have a hat specific for
very good
Halloween.
Well, hopefully it'll be next week. I picked a costume that I thought would be fairly easy to get the costume for, and it has proved to not be nearly as easy as I thought. And I was like, please don't, I really want to do this, first of all. And I was like, secondly, we have like a week until Halloween. I can't be changing my stuff this close. So that's pretty much what I'll be doing this week, is trying to make sure that I can make this costume happen, or I'm going to be sad.
Mine's kind of funny. And it's dual purpose because I'm also doing a kids' Halloween party in it next weekend in the afternoon. So I want to be like, I figure I can double use it because I was like sitting thinking, and it just out of the blue like lightning. And I'm not gonna I'm giving you no hints. It's not Liger, but it will be fun.
Well, Liger is going to be, like we talked about, Liger is going to be
untoppable.
Very hard to top. Yeah, untoppable is correct. We'll just, whatever happens, whatever you come as next week will be great. We just know that Liger is probably going to be the holy grail of costumes.
Yeah. It's like winning a Super Bowl in your rookie year.
We peaked, but that's all right.
Where do you go? Where do you go from there?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. We'll have to go ahead.
Okay, so I was saying, Daza said, speaking of Halloween, I'm loving Danhausen's Halloween 3 tribute. Yes, it's really entertaining. It was funny because last night Halloween 3 was coming on. I think Nikki and I were like getting ready to, we were just like watching a couple of things, and Halloween 3 came on, and I was like, look, it's the Danhausen intro.
I mean, Halloween is sort of the best time ever for Danhausen to come back to town.
It is. I'm hoping that, because I was like, is he coming in on like Wednesday? Because this is the Halloween week. So I was like, well, we've got Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision that he could come back at any of those. And Collision, I guess, would technically be the closest to Halloween. So we know Halloween's on wait a minute. Well, I guess it would be if it was
it's next Sunday. I think.
Is it a Tuesday this year?
No. Oh, the actual day, it is a Tuesday. The 31st is a Tuesday.
Yeah, so he might maybe the Collision before on the 28th, maybe.
Yeah.
That would be good. I'm ready for him to come back.
I want to see him wrestle, or at least be involved in something like.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like what he does, like, because are they gonna put him back with Best Friends, or Hook, or is he gonna kind of come back as his own thing now because he's established and people are ready to love that Danhausen, and I really want to know if he's gonna have the teeth when he comes.
I like the idea, especially since it really happens, and that he goes around, and someone from one of our shows on the network said that he should come around collecting teeth. And because there's so many funny like AEW matches that just like fit right into that scheme, he should like show up like the like evilest tooth fairy ever when like blood and gore matches happen.
Oh,
and like even if it's a gimmick tooth where somebody has a tooth fly out and because that would just be funny. And then also like I would love to see him wrestle a little bit if he can.
Me too.
So because
and
Bob like was really curious, so he went back and was like, he wanted to watch a bunch, and it turns out he was like, wow, Danhausen can wrestle. And I'm like,
kind of, it's the Orange Cassidy thing.
Yeah.
Where like, they have the really great character, but they can also back it up in the ring. They're not just a one trick pony.
With any luck, he's healthy and he can start doing that and establishing himself as an individual character, because that gimmick can stand alone as long as there's something.
There's so much that they could do with it, and he really got himself over in ROH with it. And I would like to see, like, if they're gonna bring, I know you gotta maybe don't want to go for the whole like spooky thing, but like this would be a good way to bring Abaddon to TV, is if they did something with, like, if they could figure out how to work Abaddon in. I think that would be, because I really would like to see Abaddon on TV. They need more women. They need more women for the division. They could easily, like, I think Abaddon would be actually a really good fit for ROH. Too. I think that they could, I'd love to see Abaddon on TV, but I think they could also maybe reintroduce Abaddon to people through ROH, because I actually just saw them. I was watching Wrestle Revolver had a show for in Texas. Not yesterday,
that's where I was
Saturday before.
Didn't they have a show that you were going to be watching?
Yeah, it was in the main event was Abaddon versus Matthew Palmer in a casket match, and it was really awesome. I really, really enjoyed that match. Nice. And it just reminded me, I was like, I would love to see Abaddon on TV. And even like I just blanked on his name. I can see him. Lance Archer has wanted to make, he talked a few weeks ago about how he wanted to bring a faction in, and Abaddon was one of the people he wanted in the faction. And I was like, this faction would be really cool, and it would be a great way to get Lance Archer back on TV, because Lance Archer was on that show. I know he got his little, because they were in Texas, so he got his 2-minute match that he did, but he was on the Revolver show too. He was in a triple threat match. And so I would like to see, that would be a really cool thing to bring back to TV and to have. I was like, I would actually like that faction. I can't remember who all it was. I think it was him and Alex Zane, because him and Alex Zane have been doing stuff in Japan together. And Abaddon, and there was somebody else, and I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but I was like, I would like that faction. I like this idea. Let's do this. And so Daza said that he's working late on Halloween night. He has to work till 9:00. Oh, boo. Well, we won't be live. We won't be live on Tuesday.
Do our Halloween show at our normal time.
Yeah, we'll be doing that on, I think it's
not like we're going to do it on Halloween. We'll probably do it basically next Sunday.
I was gonna say next Sunday is the plan, I believe, unless we
haven't had a ton of time to discuss these things, because Mel had to go to a wedding at a Renaissance. Yeah,
Mel had to go do in real life stuff.
God. She had to go see all her friends and family. Jeez.
You're her. Not giving me time to talk. But then I guess while you were away, I ended up setting up an interview with a guest that we have, who will be joining us in just a moment. But yeah, I didn't even get to tell, because it started to come together right when Mel was like getting ready to go out of town, and I was like, I don't want to. I was like, Mel's probably like packing, and I think you were leaving like early Thursday morning or something, and I was like, well, I don't want to. I was like, she's got enough to worry about. I'll just tell her when she gets back. And then I was talking on the show last week, and I was like, well, I can't even say who the guest is, because I was like, Mel doesn't even know yet. And so with Mel, I was like, so I'll just tell. So then Mel messaged me, and she was like, who's our guest?
I was actually guessing. It was a lot of fun guessing. Because like, I know Sam always has all kinds of things going on, so it's like there's many. I love the guessing game. Was fun for me, and I trust you, so that's the best part.
Well, I'm glad that you do.
It was an exciting surprise. I was like, ooh. Who gets talked to? Who we talking to?
And so let me see. Okay. I think our guest actually might be ready now. And so joining us today, we have a very, very special guest. We have Ruthie Jay from the NWA here, and she is going to come talk to us about a big match that she has coming up a week from yesterday. So next Saturday. So keeping with the Halloween theme. And so we're going to bring Ruthie in if she is, I believe she's ready to come in.
I'm letting her in.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi,
Ruthie. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I know that you are a busy lady and have a lot of things going on. So I'm really glad that you have the time to come hang out with us today. And so Ruthie has a big match on Saturday the 28th at NWA Samhain. And she is challenging for the NWA Women's Champion or World Women's Championship against Kenzie Jay. Gosh, thinking Kenzie Page, if I could get my words out. And so that's a huge deal. That's a really big match. And so we are so excited that you have the time. But I know you're probably prepping and getting ready to dethrone her.
Actually, I just came from a flight. I literally just landed like 2 hours ago. I just came from New York.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you I'm sure that you are exhausted. So thank you for coming in.
I was at first, but then I was like, I want to speak to more people about what I do. So it's like, it's never anything like that I'm not too tired for.
Well, well, we appreciate it. And so I was going to ask, so for fans who are new to you, what did they need to know about Ruthie?
Well, for one, I'm 23 years old. I'm from Haiti, and I just got signed to NWA, which is a blessing because I've been wrestling. Thank you. I've been wrestling for 3 years now, and so this Saturday, I'm mixing up my dates. I can't believe we're already in October.
I know.
No, tell me about it.
Like, September just flew by.
It did. It really did.
But next Saturday, October 28th at Samhain, I go one-on-one with Kenzie Page for the NWA World Women's Championship.
That's so exciting. And so I know you've only been wrestling for a very short time. And so it's great that, and then you always have this, you already have this big match. And so you trained with Gangrel, correct?
Yes.
That's so cool. So how did you get involved in wrestling, and how did you wind up with Gangrel of all people?
Well, fortunately, my sister has a husband, and like his brother or something like that wrestled, and so he knew Gangrel had a school, and he knew I was in Florida, so he recommended me to the school. I went to go check it out, and Gangrel, at first he was a hard ass, but slowly but surely, like, he grew to love me. I grew to love him. We have like a great coach dynamic, and like he helps me out a lot, and I honestly would not be here without him. So I'm thankful for Gangrel, because your coaches do matter, because they teach you everything.
Yeah,
like,
right.
And fortunately, he taught me well.
Yeah, definitely. And I was gonna say, and who better to learn from? What a great, he has so much experience, and he worked with. I mean, it's crazy to see, especially in people who are still going, like, and working with, the Hardys, and now we have Adam Copeland and Christian are all together in one company, and how he was involved in the early parts of their careers and things like that. So what would you say? What's the best advice that Gangrel has given you?
I always say this because it is. The journey is the jewel. Like, experience it now, because, you're always chasing the future, chasing. Like, literally, I woke up this morning, I was in New York. Now I'm in Miami. I'm like, like, that just happened, and like, it happened before it was even 12 o'clock.
Right.
So
the joys of being your own boss. I had this talk with a friend the other weekend. It's like, I'm the reason I have to be in Sarasota in 24 hours.
Right. Exactly.
Like, you have to love it though. So
You do. You appreciate life more, because you're just like, this is exciting. You know, somebody just woke up and hate their life. I woke up and I'm somewhere else, and I'm like, I love life.
Yeah, man, that's phenomenal. And what great advice to have, and something that's definitely something that you can always fall back on when, you know, when the grind gets hard, because you're going to be, you know, going to different places and flying all over the place, and just reminding yourself, you know, that is what it's all about. And so that's, you know, that's a really, really great advice, I think, just in general. And so I'm glad that he imparted that on you. And so we'll focus. Well, first of all, I believe because we have seen an appearance by our Orange Tabby. What is your Orange Tabby's name?
Brandy. My cat's name is Brandy, and anytime she hears me talking to somebody, she's always like, "Who's that?" Like,
were you ignoring me for?
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I have to. I understand.
Pop up to see who I'm talking to. Like,
of course,
popped up, saw who I was talking to, and like,
she's like, "All right, I'm out."
Yeah,
nothing important. It's fine.
Right.
I mean, she's an Orange Tabby. Like, they are special.
Yeah, and she's rare because it's a girl. They're usually boys.
Yeah. Right. That makes her. Like, she's like OP Orange Tabby.
Oh, she heard us talking about.
Oh, she's so cute. She even heard. She was like, "We know."
Like, we talk about. Wait. Okay, she left again. Okay.
All right, cool. That's okay. We're all animal people here. That's why everyone was into that.
Definitely, yeah.
Cats?
I have a cat and a dog, and so I have a tabby, and his name is actually Roman. In part because of Roman Reigns, because when he started before we adopted him, was hanging around our house a lot, and it was he was going from house to he was going to different houses to get fed, and I guess to see who he wanted to live with. And so we always joke, but he would run off other cats. So my sister and I joked that he was head of the table and things like that, and he was running people off, and it was so and then we were like, well, he keeps coming around, so we'll just call him Roman so we know who we're talking about. And then he ended up deciding he liked us the best. And so it stuck.
Right. It makes sense to me, but
yeah,
I mean, I'm biased.
Like that sounds like a cat. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a very cat thing. That's actually how my mother-in-law inherited their Orange Tabby. He just kept coming back to them until finally he became a member of the family.
Yeah,
he's a cutie.
They definitely like to pick you and be like, no, you have to.
They're kind of the perfect pets for like a certain. I just like, we're dog people because I'm married. We don't have kids. We have like very specific, like we have the fenced backyard situation. This is great because we usually BS anyway. So now we have Ruthie here to help with us. We can do pet corner here.
We are doing pet corner in the middle of pay-per-view promotion.
That's okay, because
cat ladies.
Everybody knows that dogs and cats bring more views.
This is true.
So
this was our plan. This was our plan, was like, we're gonna bring in more viewers. And
well, now we can put hashtag like dogs of Instagram and cats of Instagram on there. I mean, like, I'm just working on our SEO.
Just put a meme and say when you hear somebody talking about you and just her popping up. Like,
there we go. We'll just make it. Well, there we go. That's perfect.
See, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing.
All right. I guess we should probably get back to the wrestling talk. Right. Even though I would love to talk about. We could just make this whole hour just talking about.
Oh no, we can talk about it too. Yeah, we've got the dogs.
Yes, but since Ruthie is here to promote something very big and very important, so you've said that you are recently signed with NWA, and obviously you are getting this shot already at the title. How do you feel of that NWA showcases its women, especially because we see that a lot? That conversation comes up a lot about how promotions promote women and things like that. So what do you think about how NWA does that?
I feel like they showcase their women very well. They don't try to like put us to the sideline or anything, because like one of my biggest matches before this one was a hardcore match, and it was like team hardcore, and we were able to go all out like the men, and I appreciate that. It was like, okay, cool. Like they're giving us a chance to shine too. Like it wasn't just like a one-on-one. It was like a group like effort. You know, everybody had to lift her. And we had one of the best matches that night, hands down.
Of course.
Come at me. So I feel like the NWA women's division is like one of the best divisions you could be a part of. Everybody's so professional backstage, and then we're also respected by our peers as one of, equals, because it's not that many of us, so it's hard.
Right. Yeah, it is a smaller division, but you guys do seem to be featured pretty well, and it's great to see. And of course, obviously, we here at Powerbombshells, and I just at Fight Game Media in general, we're definitely big proponents of women's wrestling and women getting elevation and to get big platforms and things like that, which is one of the reasons we definitely wanted to have you on, because especially women who are in other promotions that maybe other people aren't really paying attention to and things like that. And so it's really great to see, that, and I'm glad to hear that, that you guys, feel like that you are just as important as everything else going on, which is really great to see. And Mel, I think did you have something you wanted to ask with that?
Well, in terms of, I mean, we hear a lot of talk online about, the women's division should be booked this way, or it should be booked that way, or it should be they should do this more, they should do that more. But I like you're actually a wrestler. You are out there, like, so in your mind, like, what kinds of things do you want to see? Like, what I mean, if when you're watching, if you have time in between, when you have time to watch other wrestling, or what do you want? Like, what do you ladies believe like you want your booking to look like? Because I feel like no one ever asks the people that are being like, you're going to do it this way.
What do I want my booking like specifically to look like, or like the division to look like?
Well, I mean, maybe both.
Okay, so
but
like,
I mean, I think it's just a lot of times people are like, the women need to do this with the women, and they need to do that with the women. And it's like everybody's armchair booking the women's division that will make the best women's division ever. But tell me what you guys think, because I feel like you guys, when you're on that side of it, you know what works and what doesn't better than all of us armchair bookers here.
I don't know. For me, wrestling is like subjective. It's like opinion based. Nothing's gonna satisfy everyone. So that's why it can never be like, whenever I see stuff like that or comments like that, I just roll my eyes like, I don't care what you think. Like, okay, tell me something else that somebody else thinks, because probably another person thinks the same thing or disagrees with you, because it's subjective. But for me, what I think should happen in a women's division is, I just feel like they should step away from more female induced storylines, like, like, I'm jealous of this girl, like petty stuff that wouldn't like get you like to fight like that. Like, if you want to be taken more as like athletes, like, some things that they still like do, some storylines that they still do that they like see as like female problems, like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, they need to pass the Bechdel test, is basically like more storylines need to pass. They need to pass
more
that
realistic
test.
Storylines that's of stuff that women would care about, like women of today's age. That's what I would say about like the booking. But the aspect of like who should be on top, of course, it has to be somebody that has everything. Like, if they're gonna be a champion, they have to have the look, the in-ring ability, and the mic skills. All three, just like how the men should have it. So that's all I can say about the division. So for me, how I would want my booking to look like right now, I honestly feel like I'm getting probably one of the biggest pushes of my career. I recently just won a title.
I saw that.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I won the CCW Women's Championship. So if I become Ruthie 2 belts, that's my booking right there.
Yes.
Any title. If hopefully it's the NWA Women's World Championship, but Ruthie 2 belts. That's the booking I'm looking.
Yeah, if you do that, we got to get the photos. We got to get the photo with both belts.
Got to. I got to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that leads us into the next question. So if you beat Kenzie on Saturday, what are your goals as champion? Because obviously, prior to that, we saw Camille, who held the title for a very, very long time. And we've seen, and so it's been a while since there's been, some fresh faces, coming to, to the top of the scene. So what would your goals be as champion?
As champion, my first goal would be to actually wrestle and beat Camille, only to know that I could do it if the roles were reversed. Because my first goal was, when I got to NWA, was I want to beat her for the title.
Right.
So now in reverse, my goal is to beat you now that I'm champion.
Yes, exactly. Do you have any dream opponents in NWA or outside of NWA that you would love to face just in your career?
Right now in my career, I would love to face Mercedes Monet because I do the whole 5 thing for 5-star athlete.
Yes.
But I draw inspiration from her too. I'm not gonna lie, she's great.
Yeah.
I would also like to face ATHENA. At NWA, I would like to face Natalia Markova, like on a one-on-one. Hopefully something crazy too, because she's crazy.
Yes, she is.
And of course, I would love to face Bianca too. Like she's amazing.
Man.
Amazing, and she's so strong. She probably throw me from one ring to the other.
Probably. Then you could say I was thrown by Bianca Belair.
That's how you get better, right?
That's how you get better. But hey,
you wrestle the best.
That would be great. Like those are great wrestlers.
They are. They're all incredible, and I would love to see.
That's the right attitude to have, though, because that's how you get better. That's how you improve. Is that you
putting
wrestle
yourself
the best
in there with the best. Yeah.
Right.
And then proving that you can go toe to toe with them. That is.
I love that. I think that's great. I'm here for it.
For me getting thrown, yes.
Well, I mean, not that. I mean, and you throwing back. I mean, that's.
I can't throw Bianca, but sure, I'll try.
Hey, goals.
And so with the pay-per-view being called Samhain and we're coming around Halloween and things like that, do you have a favorite Halloween costume from your childhood?
Good question.
Honestly, I didn't really grow up celebrating Halloween.
I actually should have started with that because that was almost my first question was, did you celebrate? And then I was like, well, and then I went right into it.
So I'm from the island. So I'm from Haiti and
right.
Haitians, we don't play about that. Like we do not play about Halloween.
Completely
we do not celebrate that at all.
No.
And if you did, you were looked down on. And that was just the culture.
Sure.
But as an adult, I lightened up a little bit, try to see what the fun was about. It still doesn't kind of sit right with my spirit because I
can understand
not celebrating it.
Sure.
So, but I did dress up as an adult, and my favorite costume was when I was Captain America.
Oh, awesome!
Oh, that's
a great
excellent
costume. What an excellent choice. That's so great.
That's my favorite superhero too. So.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Very cool. Let's see. And so Samhain is Saturday, and it is at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and you can watch NWA Samhain on Fight. It will be available to order, so definitely make sure that you get that. And is there anything that you would like to say to Kenzie Page, or just say to anybody who's on the fence about ordering this show, what that they should or why they should order?
The only thing I have to say is October 28th. Just watch out because the pay-per-view is going to be one step on the Ruthie Jay journey because I will come out NWA World Women's Champion.
We love to hear it. And then when you win that title, you got to come back with both your belts.
Oh yeah, Ruthie 2 belts.
Yes, Ruthie 2 belts. Yes, you heard it here first. We're going to hashtag Ruthie 2 belts. And she is going to come back, and she's going to come back with both of them and show everybody what she said.
Exactly. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for hanging with us, and best of luck on Saturday. And we're rooting for you, and we'd love to have you back.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Please come back.
I will. I got you.
That was fun.
My goodness. And I got to play with all the buttons. Hopefully I didn't make it look silly. I was like, don't break. Oh, thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Nikki.
It was good for us too. Sam's all special now. She writes articles and people start asking her to hang out with us. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of her.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a really cool thing. I'm glad that we got her. And that was I really enjoyed that. And I hope just that, and nothing against Kenzie. because Ruthie came to us first.
She can visit us too. She's perfectly welcome. Come on, say her piece. I mean, we are wide open and welcoming place. I mean,
that's right. I was gonna say we're an equal opportunity platform.
Totally.
But yeah, so that seems like that'll be a really great match. And so again, that is NWA Samhain is next Saturday, the 28th at 8 p.m. and it will be on Fight TV. That is a pay-per-view. So if you are a subscriber to Fight Plus, you still have to pay that separately because it is a pay-per-view. So just so you're aware, if you're a Fight subscriber, don't go looking for it and then be sad when it's not when you can't see it. So just so that you are aware of it. And if you guys end up watching it and you check it out, definitely let us know what you think because we would love to hear your thoughts on that. And Brad said, Caleb Conley liked my Facebook post when I shared your article about saying, I saw that. That was really cool. And it's funny because he and I are Facebook friends and he liked Brad's post about it, but that was really cool. So I appreciate that. And Brad had some very kind words, which I truly appreciate. And I appreciate you sharing my work as well. So that was really nice of you. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that.
I thought it was really funny when I shared your article because I always like to share those articles because we're really good and well thought out. And I was like, oh, I know Sam did a good job of covering this. So I share on my timeline and a lot of my run for because it's an intersectional thing. I mean, it's carnival stuff. It all built up. And so a lot of them, you'll be very proud to know they've finally talked me into. We started the Righteous Gemstones. We got through the first season. Like, I mean, so these little intersectional things that do this, it's like, I absolutely like, and so they saw that article, and a lot of them are of the age where like Sting was a big hero because they're a little younger, so he would have been a big hero to them and things like that. So, and also what I've noticed, like, I love it because it's like when I go looking for something like that, I see you pop up a lot more. So I'm contributing to that algorithm, man, because
I appreciate that. The algorithm definitely helps.
It definitely does. It made me think of Jim Valley said something on Sunday about, have like certain things about like have the women peaked and what do you do now at like in some of the women in WWE. And I was like, I immediately went to your article about the 4 horsewomen, and it's like what you do now is you elevate new women.
Exactly. And it's funny that you mentioned that because we'll get to some of the PWI stuff in a moment. But I saw something about I think it was Sportskeeda or somebody posted something that this was the first time that none of the 4 horsewomen made the list. Weird. Which is very, I mean, I was like, well, I mean, I guess, Mercedes has been injured for quite a while. So there's that, but I did not fact check that. So I would be surprised that if Becky wasn't on the 2, especially because they expanded to 250 this year. It's normally been 150. So
I almost wrote it up as 500 because that's what they do with the men. But
maybe eventually,
eventually
we'll get there. So, silly girl, we've made it to 250, and we'll get into a conversation Brad and I had about that. But I want to, before I go down that path, I want to circle back to Sting because that was actually one of our topics. So like it was so like watching that, like for whatever reason, when they're like Sting is going to address the fans, it did not. Retirement I just didn't really even think about it. I think I just was like, because there's so much going on in wrestling, I was like, okay, we're going to hear from Sting, and didn't really think about it. And then he gets to the ring and he starts talking about like his opponent, like his basically, the best people he's wrestled and stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, he's getting ready to say it. I was like, he's gonna now. I was like, we knew it was coming. I mean, he's talked about it openly that, he's gonna retire very soon. Some people thought it was gonna be at Wembley, and he was like, no, it's not gonna be Wembley. I don't have a date yet. Well, now we have a date. So he is, because he debuted for the company itself at Winter is Coming, because I will never forget that visual of Sting coming out and being snowed on. Like that, I will always remember. Like that you can't, like, that's just from his AEW section of his career. Like that's what I'm always gonna think about. And then of course the Tony Schiavone, it's Sting, which that I love. It still pops me every single time. I love it and I wait for it. And then I was just listening, and so I knew it was kind of, I was like he's gonna say the words, and he did, and I teared up a little, and I was like, and I was surprised because I knew it was coming, but I guess because I think this time it's because he gets to go out on his own terms. He's not being forced into retirement because of an injury. He's not coming off of a shitty run like he had in WWE. He should have, to me, he should have never gone to WWE. I think that was a mistake, because they basically just wanted him so that they could, because Vince McMahon is still mad at Ted Turner, and he wanted to screw WCW one more time.
Get over their freaking egos.
Yeah, exactly. And so I hated the way Sting was. I mean, I think we all did. We all hated the way Sting was booked, and then for him to be injured, and then basically he thought it ended his career, and we never thought we would see him in the ring again. So I think that's why because I was like, well, this time he gets to say, and I mean, of course, he's 63 years old, but he's still doing incredible things. And it's easy when he's in, he didn't really have he hasn't had a whole lot of singles matches. It's been, tag teams and trios, which is fine. Like that's all we need.
I think it's safer too. I was reading the Observer, and I was reading the section on Sting and on his neck injury, and he broke his neck and had the stenosis, and he opted not for surgery. That was part of the reason why WWE let go. So, I mean, that's using him properly has been one of the best things about AEW, and I mean, I appreciate them, and I'm glad that there was all that talk at NOAH, at the NOAH show, because I did watch the Muta retirement show.
Right, I remember that you did, yeah.
And I mean, you could just tell there was a lot of, just because of the way that a lot of those wrestlers are interacting right now. They're that age, and it's okay. It is okay, and the fact that they're able to have farewell tours and I can say that this is going to be my last show, and that's awesome. And it's going to be, and I mean, if AEW ever has a Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
I
mean,
Sting
has to be the first inductee, I think.
Pretty much has to kind of be the first, because of just being able to have that piece. I just love it so much, because he just got so much.
He did. And so and Brad said the same thing. If AEW gave us nothing else, it gave us this awesome run for Sting and allowed him to go out on his terms. So and so I realized I didn't finish my thought. So clearly,
sorry about that.
No, it was me. I sidetracked myself. But he came at Winter is Coming, but his first actual match was Revolution 2021. He teamed up with Darby, and so his final match will be at Revolution 2024. So we've got him until February. Well, February/March. Sometimes Revolution's at the end of February or the beginning of March. So right in that time frame. So not very long. We don't have him, especially because he wrestles sporadically as it is. I mean, of course, we see him in storylines. He's obviously been involved. I mean, because we even saw him later in the night when he came out and he put Christian in the Scorpion Deathlock. So we do have that kind of stuff, which I have a feeling we'll probably see a little bit more of that, just so Sting is on TV and things like that. I don't know how many more matches he will actually compete in leading up to it, but do you I think we all pretty much have the same thought, but do you have any thought of who his final opponent will be?
I'm torn, because there's so many possibilities. I mean, maybe it should be Darby, because elevate a young talent, really, but I mean, I feel like I want to see how the next few months play out with MJF and the Triple B and things like that, because I think that there's a good host of possibilities for a really, really good match that could come out of these things with one of these guys like Wardlow or Hobbs, or I mean, something just totally unexpected that no one expected, but that where he elevates a new young Cusper, or I mean that's way over the top, but I just hope it's somebody that he really wants to I mean, there's so many people in there. Bryan Danielson would be just as good, especially with him talking about retirement too.
Yeah, that's another thing. I was like, we really have both of the so Doug, who has been on the show before, Sting is his all-time favorite wrestler. but then Danielson is his favorite current wrestler. And he was like, they're both wrapping up their careers next year. And he was like, if they face each other in their final match, I'm probably going to cry.
Oh, I'll cry.
Yes. And so,
I mean, Bryan Danielson is.
Daza had the same thought that maybe Danielson. I think that if that's not his final match, I think it will be one of his final matches. I do think that we'll see that. I'm of the mind of most people. I think it's going to be Darby, and I don't think he has to do, there doesn't need to be a heel turn or anything like that. I think Sting is just going to say, you helped me in my AEW career. You are such a huge part of what I've done here. There's no one else I'd rather face in my final match than you. And I want you to go all out. I want you to, I don't want you to hold back just because it's me. And then I think that Darby goes over. And that's, I think it's probably just as simple as it sounds. Like, it doesn't have to be anything, like there doesn't have to be any weird heel turns. There doesn't have to be anybody getting involved. It can just be a pure, just respectful match, and just the
Japanese style torch passing.
Yeah,
match,
right. Exactly.
Like, I'm giving you my moves or my.
Darby's gonna beat him with the Scorpion Deathlock, isn't he?
Oh, that would be. I mean. That could be a really cool finish, though, if you think about it, because like that'd be beautiful. I mean, I'll cry if that happens. I'm gonna cry when. I mean, it's so funny because it's like a joke about like when men are allowed to cry, and it's like, okay, well, it's okay when a sports star retires, so you're all good. Like, I believe it's okay for men to cry anytime they feel like it.
Sure.
But that was like the joke for the longest time. Was it's like, but it's okay. It's perfectly fine because it's a sports star, so you're good. It's like,
it's fine. It's somebody who's been wrestling forever, and I think that's part of the thing that I was thinking of when you were talking about the Muda stuff is. We see Sting at 63, and I often forget that he's 63 just because and then we've got, you've got Edge and Christian who are both 49, but I was like, but I think it's also because I watch so much New Japan, and there's so many guys who are in their 50s and, and they are they're still at a really high level of competing. I mean, clearly their wrestling schedule is a lot different than a lot of these people especially who were in WWE for a majority of their careers, and they were wrestling, 300 days a year, and that's a lot different than these men in New Japan who are wrestling not quite as often, and so it definitely takes different tolls on their bodies, and so it's so weird. And then I have to remind myself, like, the Sting is 63 years old, like it's legitimately retirement age for him. And I hope that he doesn't leave AEW. Like, I'd love to see him just, even if he wants to stay in the back and just like agent matches.
Oh gosh, yeah, that'd be great.
Whatever you do to have Sting's mind in AEW, where younger people can come to him and pick his brain about things. And as long as I would love to I hope he stays.
I am such an advocate of players and talent and professionals. We've had this discussion for a few months now because Miguel Cabrera, here's my MLB no. He obviously retired from, here in Detroit, and it was a big deal, big deal, of course, obviously. But I was saying the whole time, and they screwed up because when the Red Wings, when Steve Yzerman retired, they should have taken him, and they didn't and let him stay because he wanted to. He went to Tampa Bay, where they have to make the ice out of thin air.
Right.
And won a Florida team a Stanley Cup when he could have stayed here and been a hero, and they could put the statues up. And so fortunately it would appear that the Tigers are smart enough to keep him around. And I think Tony Khan has the same mentality. So that was my long sports analogy route to keep Sting around. If people want to sit under the learning tree with him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't come off as a guy who's going to go. He seems like a Regal type where he's not going to go around telling you stuff. But if you come to him.
Right. Yeah. He's not just giving that knowledge away for free. He's not just going to come up and be like, hey, this is what you should do. Brad said, I wonder if they go with a final tag match like Japanese wrestlers do a lot of the time. And he put in parentheses Muda. I could also see that just because that's kind of how they've always protected Sting in this capacity, is to let him. That's why he's always in tag matches and sometimes trios, because obviously we saw him do the Dudes with Attitude with him and Darby and Shingo Takagi at Forbidden Door. And then he wrestled, I believe he did a trios match he was in a trios match at the Bye Bye show, right? I believe it was him.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it was a
I could see, I could definitely see.
Really
Yeah, I could see something like that. Brad said we also need one match of Surfer Sting. That would be so much fun. I hope somebody can convince him.
I hope he does some stuff. Like, if you, whatever, I mean, go for it, bro. Like, you've got a few more months now. I know that's like January, February time frame is when Revolution, because that's one of the first pay-per-views we ever did as Powerbombshells.
Yes, it is.
Post shows was a Revolution show, and it may have even been like, I think it was the one right after, but wow. I mean, like, it's a big one, but I'm glad it's here, and I'm glad that we have an AEW so that he can have a good retirement, however he wants to do it, and however they decide to go out. Like,
yeah, and I'm very curious as to, because Tony keeps, they keep promoting that Tony's got something very special for Sting on Wednesday, and some people have thrown out the idea of maybe it's like a ceremonial, not ceremonial, what's the word I want to use? Well, I guess it is kind of ceremonial, but basically a title just to commemorate him, what he's done in his career, and just kind of giving him some sort of, I guess, physical memento of his career or something like that, which that seems kind of likely. And again, some people are like, oh, well, is it going to be a Hall of Fame announcement? Which I guess if they decide they're going to be like, hey, we have we're going into year 5, so it's time to have a Hall of Fame, and so we're going to put Sting in it. I mean, it could be that
inaugurate it and have be this pardon me. Yeah.
So I did joke, though, not that this would be the announcement, but maybe just down the road, and I was like, they're not going to bring Goldberg in, right, and have him wrestle Sting.
I mean, never say never.
I was like, is that going to happen? They've been looking for a reason to bring Goldberg in.
People are always trying to get... People everywhere are always seeming to trying to bring Goldberg in for whatever. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I get it. I not really.
I may not be. It's not my jam, but I get it.
He was. I'm not really a fan of the WWE stuff, especially at the end. Hated a lot of that stuff. But I mean, when I was watching WCW, like I loved Goldberg. Like I loved that stuff. Like I loved the streak. I loved all of that stuff. So then I was like, this could be a way for them to convince Goldberg to come in. I mean, we'll give you Sting. I don't know if Sting wants that. I don't know if he does. But so I kind of wondered. I was like, is this how they get? Like, I don't think it's going to be his final match or anything like that. But or Sting's final match. But was curious.
It wouldn't shock me though. It really wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, if he showed up like on Full Gear or something like that, that would not like blow my mind. I would not be as shocked as some people would be.
Brad said, I don't want Goldberg anywhere near AEW, but if it's a one-off for Sting and nothing else, I can swallow that. I won't like eating it and it won't go down easy, but that's it. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm...
Exactly.
I don't know. And I don't know if it would be something that Sting's even interested in, but I was like, that could be... Tony says that, he's friends with Bill, and he keeps trying to find a reason for Bill to come. I think Bill's not, and so I think Sting's retirement months could be something that's tempting enough for him to finally say yes. I mean, they don't even have to do it doesn't have to be a pay-per-view match. And they do in January, don't they do? There's what are those special shows that they do? It's like not Bash at the Beach, but what is that? There's some they have those themed Dynamites, and I'm pretty sure there's one in January. So I was like, I guess they could do something they could do Winter is Coming, I guess. Or they could do a show if this were to happen. Of course, we have no idea. They could do that, I guess, and do it on one of those big shows. Or I don't know if they're planning to go back to Atlanta anytime in that period. And because obviously Atlanta would be the place for that to happen. I guess you could say maybe Greensboro, because that was the WCW stuff too. But I was like, probably Atlanta would make the most sense.
Greensboro, that would be.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
I mean, if they did that, I guess you could probably go chill for
I was gonna say, I hope
that's near enough, right?
Right. I hope before that's what. Yeah, it is near enough. It's an hour and a half away. If Sting,
that's perfectly drivable.
Yeah, if AEW comes back anytime before Sting retires, I really would like to go. I mean, not assuming he's going to be on the show. I think he would be in. He's been on the Greensboro shows. That's where he did the thing with where it was him and CM Punk and who else was it? And they did the face paint. It was Darby, right? I think it was him, Darby, and CM Punk, and they did the old Sting face paint and stuff like that. So I could see.
Oh, right, yeah, because that was what got JD to dig out his Black Scorpion
yes
stuff that we listened.
Yeah, so I was like, so I could see. So if they come to Greensboro, I would assume that Sting would be on that card. And it would be easier if they just came to Charlotte. But yeah, I'm hoping that if Sting comes, because I've only seen Sting live one time, and it was back when he was in TNA. And it was at a pay-per-view where he was at. And so I got to see him. But I feel like it was, I can't remember if it was, I should know. I was just, was it an Aces and 8 stuff, or was it, I don't even remember if it was the singles match. I'll have to go look, but so that's the only time I've ever seen Sting wrestle live. So I would like to see him one final time if possible. So Tony, if you're listening, please come to Greensboro and or Charlotte. Put Sting on the card so that I can see him. And I think there's been one other question that we've seen come up. Does Sting main event Revolution, or did they do like as it's a penultimate match where it's like or a double main event?
Yes.
So
double main.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily see Sting main eventing Revolution, just because depending on storyline stuff, especially with MJF, if he's still champion at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, we're almost through October. We've got Full Gear coming. We don't know what's going to happen there, but we know that that's the main event is Jay White and MJF. So, right. I mean, do we see Jay White? If it were New Japan, I would be like, well, he could definitely win, but I'm not sure with AEW.
Right. And so I kind of think, yeah, and I assume, as much as I want Jay White to win, I don't think this is the time. I don't think this is the time. I think he will eventually be champion. I think MJF probably holds it a little bit longer. There's still the rumored pay-per-view at the end of December. Who knows if that's actually happening? And then Revolution's coming. I mean, they could do another Battle of the Belts, but MJF is not going to wrestle a Battle of the Belts. So yeah, I could just see assuming MJF is still holding the title, I assume he would be the main event. So I could see them doing a double main event and having Sting be the penultimate match and maybe doing.
I think that's probably the most likely scenario, since they're not going to like have him like vying for a belt or anything in his game. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so Brad says, I still say it's so awesome that I watched Sting as a child and now Kathy is enjoying him. I
love that too. I think it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the really cool things about wrestling, and even just sports in general, and just having that type of stuff.
I love that stuff.
That's a really cool thing. And
warms my heart.
Especially
the same as when I see like little kids playing with lightsabers. I'm just like, oh yay, it's all gonna live on.
Yeah. And then you see, and it's to see, like, especially because Sting wasn't supposed to be doing this. Like, he was supposed to be retired and stay retired, and he wasn't supposed to be here. And so I think it's really cool to even that we're all getting to experience it with him. And then now we have other even younger generations who are getting to see Sting one final time and get to understand like why he's so special and why he is the icon, because he truly is. And so I'm glad that, we're getting this last little run, and it's I'm really interested just to see how Tony handles it, and I do expect that we'll see Sting on TV more often, even if he's not wrestling, just being involved in the Darby stuff. And now we've seen with the Christian, so like I expect that he'll just be a presence on TV going into Revolution, most likely.
Agree.
Yes. All right. So We will, so now we'll circle back to the PWI conversation. And I wasn't sure if I even was going to put this on here just because these lists are so subjective that I don't really pay them much attention. I've never really been a fan of the 500 just because it's all, I mean, it's great, especially the one thing that I really like about the list is that there are a lot of indie talent on there. And so that people can learn about indie talent. And Brad and I have had this conversation, like that's what he uses it for, is to find indie talent. And I like, so, and people I've seen wrestle like in my promotion, like in my local promotion and stuff, like I like to see where they land and like just to see if people outside of the Southeast are paying attention and things like that. So that I like to see. But these lists are, and so these lists are super subjective, so I generally don't pay them any attention. However, and I'm not surprised by it. I'm not surprised that so the number one wrestler was Rhea Ripley, or women's wrestler. Nothing against Rhea. I don't watch WWE. I can't say one way or another what she's done in the last year as far as like if she's worthy of that spot. That's not my argument. My argument is that Athena should have, I mean, Athena for me would have is number one. Like she's, and I keep thinking about this, like there's these wrestler of the year topics and it's generally men versus women. And I get that thing. And I get that because you have, especially because Bryan Danielson is pretty much across the board most people's wrestler of the year. Speedball has an argument. I think the wrestler formerly known as Walter Gunther has, I saw somebody the other day making an argument for him. But for me, I would almost say Athena is the overall wrestler of the year. But I mean, so I was, but yes, so Athena, I have, if you've watched the show at all, you know that I banged the drum for Athena, and Brad has as well, and Nikki and Lyric and Mel has, and we're huge Athena fans here. And I get that there's criteria and it's in this year, but still, so Athena has been champion since December of last year. She is 41-0 in ROH sanctioned matches. She is the first Black woman to have main evented Dark, Rampage, and ROH. She and Willow are the first women to have ever main evented an ROH pay-per-view. There's just accolades upon accolades. And then Athena is just importance overall to ROH. They have built a division around her. She is the star of ROH. She is training. She has Billy Starks, who is a wrestling prodigy, training underneath her. And I just don't see, like, I don't see how you can have anybody else in the number one spot. But to have her number 6, I do not believe that there are 5 women better than Athena in this period or currently. I don't think there's a better women's wrestler or champion or not. I don't think there's anybody better than Athena right now.
I mean, we are talking about the people who have Will Ospreay like 17th in the world or something like that. True. So, and it's what I don't like, what I tend to dislike about these lists specifically is that they feel a little gimmick to me because
100%.
They don't really take into account the entire world. They're very centered on North America. And when you're like, these are the best people in the world, it's like, okay, well, I guess the world is only as big as like,
yeah,
like America, like Texas and California. And right. So, I mean, already you're sort of starting at a deficit. And then, like you said, it's like, I mean, I can't speak as hard to it because you watch a lot more of diverse wrestling than I do. You've been watching, but Athena seems like everybody is on the Athena train. Everybody that's watching, people that aren't watching Athena are on the Athena train. Like, that's usually makes you number one. I wouldn't it would not shock me if, say, the Observer Awards that are fan voted, like, I would not be shocked if she was in the top 3 and or 1. I mean, that wouldn't blow my mind.
Yeah, I would see her topping. I think she will probably top some lists, and she should.
I think
and
she'll get on the list. I feel like she'll get on the list that matter. So, no offense to PWI, but
yeah. One
whatever.
that doesn't seem so commit. Yeah, so Brad says Athena not even being in the top 5 at Jamie Hayter, who I love, missed 5 months of the grading period, which was 4. Yeah, that was another big love Jamie Hayter. She's phenomenal. Should not be in the top 5. She has not wrestled in months. She hasn't wrestled, and they've done this before with the PWI 500. There was a period when CM Punk first came back in 2021, I think it was. He wasn't included in like top whatever it was because he didn't come back until August of that year. So he missed part of the period. Then when Jon Moxley was in rehab, they used that against him. They're like, oh, well, he missed 3 months.
So basically, they cherry pick this crap.
Yeah, that's exactly when
that undermines the viability of your list when you do stuff like that.
Yes,
like there's like so many flags with this list all the time. This is why I probably ignored this one harder than most, because when I hear people talking about it and I see where people are ending up in these, I'm like, that's just silly. That's just silly. If you're watching any sort of like, it's more accessible than ever. If you're watching wrestling at all, that's silly. The things that end up happening on those lists and where they end up putting people. Seth Rollins is not a better wrestler than Okada.
No. I straight up laughed when I saw him as number 1. I was like, are you
kidding me? Like, come on.
He's not better than Omega either. I was like, what are y'all get out of here?
The list is so long.
Yeah,
he barely beat Taichi Ishimori, okay?
Yeah,
come on.
This man shouldn't even be in the top 10.
Good for you. Have goofy clothes and a song that everyone's
right. I was like, does he do anything else but wear Becky's clothes?
Cartoon character make you number 1 on the PWI 500 list?
Apparently so.
Apparently.
Brad says one of Rhea's accolades for being ranked number 1 was beating Natalya. So that's why she's number 1 to take her off now. Listen, I love Natalya. Natalya is wonderful. However, that's a dumb reason.
That's pretty sad because, I mean, what I did watch this year, because I did watch a stretch of WWE early in the year, and so I did get to see some of what Rhea was doing, and I do give her credit.
It's not a slight to her. Like, I like Rhea.
She's not number 1 by any stretch. I'd put her maybe.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Rhea
because of what she's doing in terms of like helping to define the position.
Yeah, like that. I'm not. This is nothing against Rhea. I like her. I've been a fan of her since NXT, but she's not the number 1 women's wrestler in the world.
Really,
it's just straight up lie. And Steven over here is coming over here and bringing some reminders that this list isn't everything, but it's important to remember that the winner goes on the cover and they are trying to sell magazines. So with Rhea, one of the top 2 or 3 stars on Raw, she gets the top spot, which Steven is correct. They are trying to sell magazines.
I acquiesce to that point because you're correct.
Coming over here with logic and things like that. I guess sometimes there's room for logic and
use logic bombs. Oh, fine.
The PWI thing has never been legit, which is why I really don't ever pay it.
That's why I almost never. I listen to other people talk about it a little bit sometimes, but I can't find it in my wrestling soul to bother with. Especially since I know people who used to buy the magazine.
Yeah.
When it was a big deal when the magazine was, because this is a major magazine. They were like a big. John especially, that was like a big deal when the PWI 500 came out because you got to look at all the pictures and do all these things. But I think the world of wrestling is different now.
It is. Steven says he's here to ruin everything.
It's just.
But yeah, if PWI
still love you, so it's okay.
Yeah, we do, and we appreciate you coming to hang out.
You're ruining it in a way. Hard truths are hard for a reason.
Yeah, this is true. And Steven also said Seth sells more magazines in the U.S. than Okada, so he gets number 1. I hate it. So Brad says Julia being number 2 over Tam, who was the finalist in the 5-star last year and held the top 2 belts at the same time, beating Julia. One of those titles was laughable. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, and I've seen that. It seemed like a lot of Western fans of Japanese wrestling really took PWI to task.
I mean, that's been happening. I feel like that's been happening more and more every time they drop one of these lists because the access is broader now. It's not about there's no tape trading anymore. I can go online and watch all the Japanese wrestling I want to. So it really has changed the game. Like
it has, right.
And they're featuring all these luchadors all over the place on AEW television, and New Japan has deals with them anyway. So
they do. So Dazzle says, "Hey, PWI bugged the 4 Horsewomen dressing room. Did Meltzer ever do that? No." Oh, and I do want to bring this up. So Daza did say,
"Oh my God, did they really do that? It's so carny."
I have no idea. Daza, I do not know what that is in reference to. You might have to educate us because clearly that joke went over my head. Steven might have understood. Steven and Brad might have gotten it.
I can't.
But I do not know about this joke. Brad says there were a lot of Joshi talent on the list, which is great, but there was no rhyme or reason for where most of them were listed. Yeah, it's great to see them highlighted. So hopefully that will make people who are interested in Joshi wrestling go check them out, which is what you always hope for from these lists, is that people will go find who some of these people are. That's, like I said, that's always my takeaway is indie wrestling and where they figure up. So basically once you get out of the like top 30 or whatever. Yeah, because PWI, they had Speedball at like number 36 and I was ready to punch things. I was like, this is why it's
that's just not something I can take seriously. But I mean, in fairness, like if they are showing up on there, that hopefully, if we go by Steven's logic, hopefully we'll get to a place where enough people know who these people are that them being on the front of that magazine will sell magazines.
Yeah. And like it's cool. Like I saw, and I do, and like
goddamn,
it's really
Okada's freaking awesome. Okay.
You have so many indie wrestlers who are so happy, like they're happy to be on the list, which I am happy for them when they are excited where they're at. And like, because I think it was Brogan Finley was like, I didn't think I would care, but I do, because he was named in the file. And so like, and that type of stuff, like I enjoy and I'm happy for them. And I hope that means that people go check them out and go watch their matches. But anything else with that list is,
I mean, I guess anything that features you because of the nature of the business, anything that features your name, gets your name out there is beneficial to you. So in that regard, I guess it's like, we have to like look at it as a way for people to have their names out there and not as a serious list of who's the best wrestler.
Yeah, right. Steven says he agrees with you.
I know you do.
So Steven filled us in, which I appreciate. So he said it was great. They did an article where they bugged it and printed the transcript where they planned their devious attacks. Great piece of fiction. Wow. Oh, and Daza says, and so in 1989, PWI did a story where they bugged the four horsemen and then printed the transcript of the horsemen arguing and planning sneak attacks. That actually sounds really funny.
That is hilarious. That is the most like,
especially in 1989,
of
like
course.
Where people thought that it was didn't realize it was kayfabe.
Oh, they definitely didn't.
Yeah.
If you missed it, Jim Valley did one of his make believe, where he found a Wrestling Observer from 1989 recently, and he did one. It's very hilarious, especially for someone who was the age I was at the time.
Oh, sure. Steven says back in the kayfabe days, PWI was essentially fan fiction.
Absolutely. That's perfect. So
now they're trying to be
it was.
And now they're trying to be legitimate, but then they put Seth Rollins.
But I mean, I have friends that legitimately looked forward to that.
And for the people who enjoy it, this is not to take anything away from you. It's just very irritating when some people treat this like it's the holy grail and this like it means like that they're legit and stuff like that. And then Brad and I had a conversation about this, how PWI 500, like it's a big damn deal, like all day long, like
oh yeah,
they like do the countdowns, they're on Twitter, listen to Bust It Open to see who the number one wrestler is, then they break it, and then all day long they're talking about it. But then when it comes to the women, they're like, hey, the 250's coming out today. And like I saw, so Kristen, who is involved in PWI, and it's definitely a big project for her. Like I follow her, so I see her. Like I saw her a lot leading up to it when she's like, hey, 4 or 5 days away. As we put a lot of effort. Like she's definitely hyping it up. So like I see her talking about it, and now every once in a while I would see some stuff about it, but like it's definitely not treated the same as the 500 list. Like there's no busted open reveal for them, for the women. There's no big production about it. There's no we're talking about it all, because mainly it's PWI 500 or PWI release day, let me get off Twitter. What time does the list drop so I know to not be online? Like that type of stuff.
Or get your popcorn and your 3D glasses and put your Twitter on your PC and just scroll all day because you're enjoying the hilarity of people losing their crap about it.
Yeah. So I am glad that PWI have expanded their women to 250.
Well, you said it went from, what was it before?
It was 150, so it went from 150 to 250.
Okay, so we're halfway there.
Yeah, so we got that. So, but there's
now we got to get at least half the coverage. And then maybe we'll get to the 500.
Yeah, and maybe they'll get the busted open spot. Like there's no national wrestling media coverage as far as like hyping it. Tune in at 11 a.m. Eastern to see who for the big reveal. Like there's none of that. Like it's just announced on Twitter.
They can come on our show and promote it and do a countdown.
Like, we're not coming on your show because you've been shitting on it for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're right. God damn it. Oh well.
Like you've told us that our list doesn't matter and that you're mad at us. And
I know you're right,
but
you're
no,
right. You're right. I'll swallow my Mike Gilbert side and just deal. Screw your stupid list. No, I would like to see the list get to 500, and I would also like to see the list. But I get it. I mean, I understand it because I did have a friend especially that would like look forward to that day and go down to the shop to buy it and stuff like that. So I appreciate
there's nothing wrong with that.
Like, its historical value.
Yeah, and I'm not like if you are excited by the list and you look forward to it every year, like more power to you. Like I'm glad that you appreciate it. It's just not for me.
Me either. Not my
and deal. I like I said, I almost wasn't even going to talk about it because, like I said, these lists are subjective and they don't really mean anything. I mean, for some people who think Seth Rollins and Rhea Ripley are the best wrestlers in the world, then that I'm sure that they love it. But I just was really irritated to see Athena not even make the top 5, considering and I hate the argument, well, nobody's watching her. It's not her fault that she is under a platform that you have to pay to see. That doesn't devalue her work at all. It doesn't devalue anything that she's doing. And so I hate that argument, and that argument needs to go away. Cannot stand that. And I guess you could make the same argument that you have to pay to watch New Japan. You have to pay for World to watch Okada. And so like it's the same argument.
Well,
and
I mean, you have to pay to do anything that's not going to be on your cable, you have to go and watch.
Yeah, and then you have stuff
behind a paywall.
Yeah, and like, or you gotta go, like NWA is not on national TV, so you can't see them. And Impact, well, they're gonna be back to TNA. Impact is on Access, it's on YouTube as well if you pay for the subscription. But Impact is on a channel that is not necessarily held by a lot of cable programming.
So many places didn't carry Access for such a long time. Mm-hmm. It's only recently expanded out to the places that.
Yeah, and I used to have to watch it then they were on Pop TV for a while, and Pop would come and go on my as a cable package I would have. Sometimes it was part of the cable package, then sometimes they would drop it, which is the same reason like growing up watching TNA that I had a hard time watching it, because I would have it and then the cable provider would drop it and I wouldn't see it for a year, and then I'd have the channel and then I would forget that TNA was even on because I haven't watched it in so long. So it's always been so. WWE is more easily accessible. AEW is more easily accessible. And that's not to discredit any of the work they're doing, but to say that Athena doesn't I don't think this is not an official reason for PWI. I think this is just an argument in general that I keep seeing is, oh, well, she's on ROH and I can't see what she's doing. And so I can't agree with you that she's doing the best work of her career. Well, we're paying $9.99 to see it. And that's not saying that you have to, but you can't. It's not Athena's fault. That's where she is.
Right. She didn't book herself on the show that's not behind the paywall. So.
Right, exactly.
It was really funny. I was listening to the Dynamite show, listening back, and listening to you and Grandpa Des there having that little interaction. He gave out to you about how you and 5 other people saw that on YouTube, Sam, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait.
I saw it.
Jeff nailed it. Jeff is I love when Jeff, he's like, and you can reach Paul at Pauly. I was just like, God bless you two so much. So, it was adorable.
It was, I heard it. It made me laugh. I was like, hey, so I watched it.
I just thought it was so funny because they always love to say, and because you and Brad and Daza and many of our other people who hang with us and Nikki, you guys actually did watch it. And so it's like, I know at least 6 people myself that watched it. So that can't be true because I'm just one person.
Yeah, see?
And I know 6 people who saw it. So that's
right. It was trending on Twitter.
We love you. We love you. It's all love.
It is.
It's part of it. I think part of it was he was probably like mad. He was like mad because I beat him at fantasy football last week. But he was taking it out at you
2 weeks ago. I beat him like 200 points to like 90.
Oh, maybe he's mad at both of us for kicking his ass at fantasy football.
That's gotta be it.
Because we all know that Jeremy is getting that belt at this point.
I think that's who I'm playing this week.
Have fun with that.
Listen, I told y'all it was not going to be like Fale in the G1 and getting just my 2 points.
No, I have won
3 games in a row.
Sam is the dark horse in our league. She went from the basement to just like
now I'm in 5th
on a run, folks.
No Fale up in here.
It was hilarious. I cracked me up. You were like, I am not going to be Fale. And sure enough, you just went on a run. And I was like,
oh, thank God.
This is the best fantasy football league I've ever been in. I've never had this much fun playing.
It is fun. Even though when I was losing terribly, I was like, I hate it. Stupid AI.
But I like who I'm playing with, and we're all funny. And we have a good time giving crap to each other.
Yes. Brad said when he was growing up, the 500 and year-end awards were the big issues I loved waiting for.
And I totally appreciate that.
And Daza says, well, I just tagged you in a photo of the bug story on the Fight Game Media Discord for laughs.
Yeah, so okay, I saw the tag, so I'll check it out. I definitely will.
Steven said Fale averaged double digits in the G1 when he was in it. Doesn't he get like 2 or 4 points? Like it feels like he always, or I think Chase Owens also only gets like 2 or 4 points.
Yeah, Chase Owens, they're there for
their Fale's there. Fale's like getting like 2 points and stuff. Steven says, I'll never hear the end of it if Jeremy wins.
Oh, none of us will.
No, this is true. God.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it's not looking good for any of us.
If we have a happy hour, once the season's over, that's all it's gonna be is Jeremy gloating on every
and having that belt that I'm making. That I have it planned in my head now. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I think you guys will all think it's adorable. So.
Well, speaking of, if you enjoy this, you
can sign
up for the patreon.com.
I was just going to say, since we're talking about it, how did the first happy hour go? Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, it was fun. It was several of us, and then it was mostly Brad, and then we had why did I just blank on his name? There was somebody that was in and out. I don't know him because I'm not in the Discord.
Oh,
and
damn.
He was working and was like, and so he had to go out to his car to come hang out with us, which was really nice.
Oh,
and so
I think I know what you're talking about.
And we had a nice little chat. with everybody, and it was fun. It went a little over an hour, and I was like, I gotta go. Thank you, Brad Miguel. I was like,
that's who I thought.
I was like, I see his face. I was like, I see him. I know who we're talking. I was like, I can see who we're talking about. But it was really
great.
I enjoyed it. I hope that Brad Miguel enjoyed it too. We went a little over an hour, and I was like, I gotta go cover Rampage. So I had Rampage on my phone and was like trying to get it. So if you would like to come hang out with us on our monthly happy hour, you can join the Patreon. It's $10. In the $10 tier, you get the audio of Power Bombshells. You also get the audio of Speaking of Strong Style. You get Garrett has a show that's on there. And then once a month, there is a happy hour where you can bring whatever your drink of choice. Could be water, could be tea, could be wine. That's what I had.
I'm big on the mulled wine this time of year, folks.
Yes. And so whatever, and then you can just come hang out with whoever is available. Some of the podcasters will come and hang out for an hour or so and just chat with everybody. And so and then if you are not a subscriber, but you are a subscriber to this YouTube channel, not only do you get our show, but you also get Speaking of Strong Style with Steven, who is here in the chat with us today. Their show is on Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. And so they're always a lot of fun and super informative. And so definitely go check them out. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. So yeah, that was our little plug.
That's good though. That was very good. I think James would be proud of us.
Well, thank you.
I'm proud of you. I didn't do anything. I sat here and listened to you cut an awesome promo. So
that would be high praise, because nobody sells Patreon the way that James does.
No one slips it in. He's the master.
He's very good at it.
I mean,
you are welcome, Steven.
And you get to boom, and you get to hear him make the best segue promos for the Fight Game Media Network that anybody ever does.
It's an art, and he has perfected it.
It's great. I love it.
That's why we always joke that we're just gonna have him record something for us, and we'll just
slip it in
because the right just time. Let it. Yeah, like an hour word from James.
That would be hilarious. We could make that a thing on the whole network at this point.
Yeah. We also need that to go along with our what was the graphic we said we needed, because we need a breaking news graphic.
We need a breaking news graphic, and that's on me. I just because Mike and Baby I missed the happy hour because I was at my best friend's wedding.
And I don't know why you keep doing this in real life stuff.
I'm sorry. What am I gonna
How
do?
How dare you?
But I definitely want to be involved. So we gotta keep getting the people on the thingy, and I want to meet these people in person too, because I like it.
I know. I was like, I'm not over.
I had to go see my bestie be as happy as possible, and it was wondrous.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad for them, and I'm glad that you had a good time as well.
And they're also wrestling fans, so it works out perfectly. So,
see, even better.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Daza said, speaking of women's wrestling, I love Sheeta versus Emmy on AEW this week.
That was a great match. That was
too.
Oh,
my biggest complaint was that was not an actual title match. I'm not a fan of the title eliminators as it is. If they're gonna do that, I would rather them do the ROH Proving Ground matches, because in the Proving Ground matches, you have to last 10 minutes to get a title shot. Or obviously you have to beat them. Or last 10 minutes. It's one or the other. And Athena has done a really good job at utilizing that, and it's helped elevate other women, which I really like. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of the title eliminator matches in the way that they do it, because they don't win. The last best one that they did was MJF versus Adam Cole when it went to the 30-minute draw. That was the best one that they've done. But yeah, so they should have just went ahead and made this a title shot. That should have been an outright title shot, or Emmy should have won so that they could have a rematch down the line somewhere. But I really enjoyed that match, and I really just hope that they keep putting Emmy on TV. And then Jeff had the amazing idea of having Emmy and Athena just be a two-women wrecking crew. And I saw that when he said it on Twitter, I was like, oh my God, please let me have this, Wrestling Goddesses.
He definitely has his finger on the pulse of all the kinds of wrestling that we want to see. My biggest complaint, honestly, with the women the last few weeks, and I'll say this, this even happened. I was able to catch Collision Saturday night in the hotel. And damn it, if they can't stop putting in the women's matches in picture over everything else, and the Tony Storm thing, I understand that it's supposed to be the part of it
to keep people from changing the channel, and it was smart when they did it during NXT. It was to keep people from turning to NXT and see what they were doing, and so I think it was smart. I
get it, but I'm like frustrated because I feel like I also missed it.
Sure.
And I want to go back but I mean, I get it for keeping people reading. It's the same thing that Sammy Guevara did. I mean, Sammy did this forever ago with the card.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then Don Callis did it. Was it Don Callis that did it a couple of weeks ago? I think it was.
But even not on Tuesday night. Like, they go to picture way too much, and it wrecks the momentum, and it's a lot during the women's matches.
Well, and and I usually, that's one of the things I say about Impact is they typically don't do that, and they have done it a couple of times. Women's matches have started in the commercial, like in picture, and so I can't hear the bell, and so I have to watch the referee's arms and wait for him. And then I'm like, did I miss it? Because they've done that twice. They did it the last time, I think, was that may have been, I can't remember if that was a mixed, like an intergender match maybe, but there was a women's match, and I'm like, this is what WWE did. They were starting women's matches in commercial breaks, and they'd come back, and I was like, so at least they were, I guess the one good thing is it's in picture so I can see it, but I have to like it, but it's super frustrating. And so now, and that would have been one of the things where I'm like, Impact doesn't do that, and now they're doing it too, and I'm like,
just for that, I mean, the Shida Emmy match was like so good, and they kept flipping it to in and out, and it's like it made me feel like when my New Japan lags, it makes me like, stop it, you're killing the momentum. It makes me want to want to move to England and get a subscription to Fight TV from my living room.
One of those things, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
I don't know what that
being a solution to an issue,
or somewhere like that. Canada, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I'm really close to Canada's. Like, I can see Canada almost from if I climbed on my top of my house and looked the right direction, I could probably see Canada. That's how close we are.
Then you should, you could definitely utilize some things there to be able to see that.
No offense to Ohio, but you're the Connecticut of the Midwest, and you take too long and you're boring to drive through. So
Mel's just giving out hot takes.
I am spicy, Mel. I'm spicy hot Mel today. I'm pumpkin spicy. I'm pumpkin spicy hot, okay?
Mel hasn't been here in 1 week, and she comes back
with all kinds of pumpkin spicy hot takes.
Spit on my water.
All right. Anyway, let's move on.
He said, "Come to England, Mel."
I might do that. I might try to get over for the all in sometime.
That's what I was just
only because I know my friends would be there, and I know I could meet other people like Daza, and because I have already friends there, and then other people that I could actually meet there, and that would be a lot of fun too. And
we could have
I haven't been across the ocean since 2016. So.
I have never been, so that would be fun. And we could have a Powerbombshells meetup or something.
That'd be cool.
Might just be you and Daza, but it would be fun.
Well, we could both come on. Finally, Daza cracks me up. Like, you're not in there, but every time we have a special guest, and I post the link in our Discord, he's like, "Is it me?" And I'm like, I don't know.
Is it? We'll find out at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
I mean, it's always special when he's here, is what I told him last time. So we appreciate the support. And
we could do a Powerbombshells Goes International with special guest Daza. We could do that.
There you go. See? Yeah.
We could make that happen.
And then we could make a bunch of
Mel, I mean, if you are, for our audio listeners, Stephen has once again said that Mel speaks the truth.
Well, here we are
with her takes. I would agree with Brad. Apple cider hot takes are greater than pumpkin spice hot. I would agree.
Didn't we have this conversation?
Well, I was going to say we had this conversation a few weeks ago about apple cider being better than pumpkin spice.
We already agreed that to the majority of the Powerbombshells audience, hot cider is exponentially better than pumpkin spice. We here at Powerbombshells are pro cider.
We'll do a Twitter thing poll. And you can send a Twitter poll and you can send the link to Discord and have them vote.
I'm doing that now just because it's going to be hilarious. Right before Halloween, that's the funniest thing ever. And we all know that Twitter polls are 100% the most accurate polls on the planet.
So scientific. That's why people do them.
Of course. They're the most empirically peer-reviewed studies you can. All right. We're off the rails.
We're way off the rails. All right. Well, we can keep it with the AEW talk. So last night, I had to watch everything on a delay because I stayed off Twitter because yesterday I went to a 90s themed birthday party because Sunny is turning 11 tomorrow, and we are coming up. And we are coming up on the 1 year diagnosis of her diagnosis with DIPG, and so that's why I wanted to wear my Sunny shirt today, and I'm wearing my Sunny bracelet. I don't know if you can see. That says Sunny really Strong cool. on it.
It might still have our stuff even.
And so I'll just give a really quick update a quick information for people if you're not familiar. Sunny is my cousin. 4 days after her 10th birthday, she was diagnosed with DIPG. She has a brain tumor that's inoperable at the base of her at the top of her spine. She has been in clinical trials pretty much the entire last year. For the most part, she is doing really well. The treatment seems to be working. The tumor, actually, she just had an MRI on Thursday. The tumor has shrunk slightly. So they said that sometimes you have to treat it like an octopus and try to make sure you get rid of the tentacles.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what they're doing now. She is in radiation for that. She has lost the ability to use her right side. They do think it's because of inflammation, and so they think that that she's having some nerve damage, but they said they don't think it's permanent. It seems to be something they think will eventually come back. So she has taught herself how to write with her left hand. And so and she's in school. She's doing really well. So her party was actually at her school last night. We had a big surprise. We had a big surprise party for her. She wanted a 90s theme party. So I'm
going to pop up the GoFundMe on here real quick, guys.
Yeah, and so
that's Sunny.
I'm actually going to post on her birthday. I'm going to post some links to a couple other because obviously GoFundMe is always incredible.
Always
There's also
good.
She is the ambassador for A Cure Starts Now because there is no cure for DIPG. And so $100 for every $100 it funds an hour's worth of research. So I'm not saying you have to donate 100, but once you get to whatever amount you donate, but getting up to 100. So every $100.
The idea is that there are milestones, so every dollar counts.
Right. Yes. Every dollar does absolutely help. And then there's also the Santiago Strong Foundation. Santiago, they have been really great for Sunny. Santiago also had DIPG. He lost his battle at the age of 11. So he's the same age as Sunny will be tomorrow. And so they have been the foundation has been super supportive of Sunny and her family. They were at her party last night. They're just wonderful people. And so they are helping other children with DIPG. And so they are definitely another great organization. And like I said, I'm going to post both of those tomorrow because I think I'm going to tweet something about in honor of Sunny's 11th birthday. If people want to donate $11 to either of those funds, I think that would be a really cool thing. Of course, her GoFundMe GoFundMe is there, but and which is super helpful. And would not tell you not to donate to the GoFundMe. But there's also these other options too, because we want to help children like Sunny and children who have, that are coming after her who will be diagnosed with this, that they get.
Looking at a brain tumor survivor right here. So I'm 100%.
Yeah. So Mel, yes.
Not something a child or anyone should have to go through, and those tentacles are assholes.
They are. Yeah. And so they're under control, but they, it's hard. Radiation's hard on anybody. Chemo is hard on anybody, but especially an 11-year-old child. That's definitely something that's really hard on them. And so, but yeah, so last night was a night to celebrate Sunny and everything that she has overcome in the last year. She had a fantastic time. There was a lot of great, it was a really great night, and she got to see a lot of her family. And then she found out that, so her big gift was she got surprised this Friday. She is going to Vegas to see Usher. And she's super excited. Usher is her favorite singer. I asked her last night. I said, is Usher your favorite? She said, oh my gosh, yes. So she is very excited. The hospital, I believe the Levine's Children's Institute here in Charlotte, that she's here. That's where she's treated here. And then she goes to Augusta once a month because of the clinical trial she's in. So I believe it's the hospital here in Charlotte that was able to hook her up with tickets. And they unfortunately could only get 2 tickets to the concert. So her and her parents and her brother will all be going to Vegas this weekend, but her and her dad will be the ones going to the concert. And Carlos was really excited about it because Carlos is a huge Usher fan. And so Sunny is very, very excited for this weekend. So I will definitely be posting some updates about that. But so
that's why I got our Powerbombshells stuff up there. Check that out.
Yes.
And we'll definitely retweet that stuff because we obviously support all of those things on our show all the time. And this is a family member, so we definitely
yeah. So obviously that took precedence over wrestling last night.
Yes,
so thank goodness for DVRs. So I was able to go back and watch Collision and Battle of the Belts. I have not gotten to see. I didn't get a chance to watch Bound for Glory, but I did see a few clips from it. I did hear some good things. I don't actually know all the results for all the matches. I actually only know the results for 3 matches. I don't know who won between Chris Sabin and Josh. I don't know who won between Chris Sabin and Kenta. I saw Brad's tweet saying that it was a really good match. And then I don't know who won between Josh Alexander and Alex Shelley. Somehow have avoided both of those. We'll see how long that lasts.
Don't anyone spoil it in the comments.
I mean, if it gets spoiled, it gets spoiled. I'll be fine. But I did see a few things. But back to, we were going to talk. So one of the things we were going to talk about was Battle of the Belts. Battle of the Belts.
Yeah, it was.
The matches were good. The matches are fine.
It was whelming.
Yeah, it was whelming. It's just they don't. I hope whenever this Warner Brothers, whatever the new deal is, I hope they drop Battle of the Belts because they are so pointless. I know that originally when they started, it was to give Warner Brothers the one show a quarter. This was before Collision existed, and they were trying to give them which I appreciate, but it has run its course because Tony does not care about them. There hasn't been a title there. Last night was Battle of the Belts 8. There's not been a title change since 3, which was technically. Wait, is that because there was the first one had the vacated title,
Cody,
which is I was at that one, and so Cody that's where everybody assumed. It was never confirmed, but most likely Cody had COVID, and so he had to vacate the title, and so the match was Dustin Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara. It was a banger of a match. Dustin still puts on. I'm always excited to see Dustin Rhodes matches because he always puts on bangers. He always does a Dustin Destroyer. So I'm always thrilled to see him. And then the actual last title change, I believe, was Battle of the Belts 3. So these shows are extremely predictable. And the matches are usually really good. There's usually one really great match, but it's just another hour of television.
It's frustrating too because you can tell they don't care because there's no onus put on. It's not like you get a 2-week warning or a month warning or a 3-week warning.
It's time for Battle of the Belts again.
It was literally like they're on the show and and there's Battle of the Belts. And I hate that because I end up missing it a lot because the DVR won't pick it up because it's a separate.
I almost forgot to record it. And I was on the way home.
If I forget.
Yeah, I was on the way home last night. It was almost 10, and I was like, wait a minute. I don't think Battle of the Belts is scheduled to record. And so luckily I have the app on my phone. So I went and set it up to record. But if I had remembered, I would have completely missed Battle of the Belts last night.
But that's the problem, is that if I don't remember, I mean, they have ways for me to DVR it, but if I don't remember, and because they put so little, they like mentioned it once on Tuesday and they mentioned it once on Friday, and then it was like, you're done. Okay, bye.
Yeah, and the only reason I think that we knew about it, I knew about it to begin with, is because I think WrestleTix was like, they're filming Collision and Battle of the Belts together, like, because I guess they're advertising it in Memphis. They're like, oh, so if you buy a ticket to Collision, you get to stay for Battle of the Belts too. And so then that's the other thing that Nikki and I were talking about last night. You have ROH now. So on the nights that you have Battle of the Belts, so did they do, typically ROH is filmed, like, I think they film a few matches before, then it's Collision, and then they film the rest of ROH. So I was like, last night, did they film before, have this, and have Battle of the Belts, and then film more ROH after? Or how, I don't know how they, or if they film some of ROH.
That's a long time.
And then I was like, but then they had Dynamite and Rampage, so did they film some ROH before, like, with that too? And so it's just now they have ROH filming live with Collision, Battle of the Belts just needs to go away. I
think they filmed ROH here in Detroit after Rampage.
Yeah.
So like it was late. And then Collision, it was before when we saw it in Toronto.
Yeah. So Brad confirmed ROH prior, Collision, Battle of the Belts, more ROH. That's a really long night. Granted, for the ticket price, that's good. You're getting a whole lot of wrestling for what you're paying. And so the value is very good. However, that's people's time that they have to invest. There's traffic. If people are taking public transportation, they have to take that into consideration.
I mean, I guess it's better because it's the Saturday show. If they were to try that with the Wednesday show, I think it'd be a monumental fail, but
right. Oh, excuse me.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. I don't feel compelled. It's like, I don't know what the show is for.
That's what I was going to say. It's also a lot to ask of fans, considering you don't give a shit about.
You don't care, like, and we already have way too much wrestling to watch.
Right. Why should they care? And they were going up, and I know because people thought, we talk about how WWE and AEW go up against each other, but nobody talks about when AEW goes up against Impact. And Bound for Glory is their biggest pay-per-view of the year. And not that, but I was like, they aren't booking, they're not booking Battle of the Belts to go up against pay-per-views. I think because they put no effort into Battle of the Belts. So if you watch Bound for Glory, you
didn't really,
you probably saw the better show.
You won.
As Brad says, the whole Bound for Glory show was a lot of fun, very solid from start to finish. The Choose Your Shot Gauntlet was so much fun and had a great winner. That I did see. So I do know the 3 people who came into that match. I know who won it, and I know what they challenged for. I am still planning to go back and watch Bound for Glory because I wanted to see the show anyway, because Bound for Glory is always really good because it is their biggest show of the year. And so they always usually go all out. And I enjoy a lot of Impact anyway. It is still something I watch weekly. I do fast forward through the things I don't care about. So it's not like I don't watch it. That's part of the reason I don't watch it live, is because I watch things I want to see.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, the Battle of the Belt had solid matches. The biggest thing coming out of Battle of the Belts was Orange Cassidy purposely bumping into Jon Moxley because he's still pissed at Jon Moxley for beating him for the title. And so even though he has the title back, he's still, and so that kind of feeds into this theory that we might see a darker Orange Cassidy, not necessarily a full heel turn Orange Cassidy, but perhaps a darker one. And I think that kind of feeds into it because Orange Cassidy is not somebody who typically starts, he's not an instigator.
Yeah, so you're right.
He went after, he instigated with one of the biggest wrestlers in the company, and
hopefully that means they're going to give him a shot at the belt. Maybe he can take a run at it and see how.
And so I thought, so when this happened, I was like, well, so while we were out, like our friends they text. So our friend Doug texts us because there was the Zach Gowen reference in the first match, like with Bryan Danielson in the first match of Collision. There was a Zach Gowen reference, and so we were like, oh well, we're not home. And so they didn't tell us anything. And so then later, so we're home, we just hadn't started stuff yet. And Matthew was like, I want to tell you about this match, but I don't want to spoil anything. And then I was like, so I need to not go on Twitter. And he was like, no, don't. And so I knew as soon as I saw what Orange Cassidy did, I was like, oh, this must be the match announcement. We're going to get Orange versus Jon Moxley at Full Gear. Then they cut. No, we're getting Orange Cassidy and Okada versus Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli on Dynamite. Just random Dynamite.
Because Okada.
Yeah, because Nikki was like, so, and I asked, and I was like, okay, but wait a minute. I was like, Okada wasn't on Bound for Glory last night, so it's not like he was in the US for that, unless he just showed up last night and I didn't hear about it. I was like, I don't think, he's here for he's at the New Japan show next week, right? The one
is there a New Japan show? There is a New Japan show coming up, isn't there?
It's on the 28th. Is he on that card?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
I can't remember which one I can't remember what it's called.
That's because there's the Vegas one, which Steven is going to. And then there's the Lone Star one is in Texas. A few weeks
Lone Star.
Jon Moxley is on the Lone Star show.
Okay.
I don't remember. Was Okada announced for the 28th? Or
that I don't know.
I'm not Maybe Brad can fill us in. Okay, thank you. Steven says not booked for Fighting Spirit Unleashed. No. So that's the October 28th show. Okay, so that's why it just dawned on me, because I was trying to figure out why Okada was here. I was like, what is happening? Like,
that's why you should be watching Speaking of Strong Style, folks.
I know. I missed
like that.
I did. I missed Thursday's episode too, and I was like, damn it. And I actually was gonna start it today, and I was trying to find it, and that's how I got spoiled, because Impact came up, and that's how I found out who the other two entrants in the gauntlet match were. So Steven says, I'm going to both. So far he is not announced for either. Okay.
Interesting.
I didn't think so, but I thought I missed it. So thank you, Steven, for clarifying. But yeah, so I'm not mad that we're getting this match. I was just extremely surprised why Okada is going to be on a random Dynamite in Philadelphia in the middle of October.
Hey, man, whatever.
I mean, wrestling in 2023. Brad says, I'm very intrigued by what's going on with Sky Blue and Willow. Me too. And I'm very cautiously optimistic. Because every time I get excited for something with the women and it looks like it's going somewhere, it falls apart. And they could have so I'm, especially because the Outcast thing, I was very excited for, because I thought we were finally getting some momentum in the women's division, and then it just fell apart, and then it's been dragging along. And it's just, so I hope good things for this. And I have I'm trying not to fantasy book, but kind of see where they're going with stuff. Cause it was really interesting that, so of course, everybody's been talking about, the Brad said Willow's bright personality seems to be fitting off the darkness for now, but she was very aggressive in her match last night, which is not something she normally does, which I thought was really interesting, especially against somebody who is her friend in real life. Her and Chris Statlander have a lot of history. So I really am intrigued by this. And it's also intriguing that Sky Blue is wearing dark eye makeup, except for now she has new bright gear, because it is Scooby-Doo Mystery Van inspired gear, and the eyeshadow matched it, but then she had the very dark eyeliner that went down her face. So maybe she's hiding it. Then she comes, and then she stops Willow last night from shaking Chris's hand, and she has on pants that are two different colors. She had that's really interesting. So I like the idea of it, and I really hope it turns into something really cool. But I have been burned by the women's division in AEW so many times that I'm trying not to invest too much into it, but also kind of be excited. I'm mildly excited for it, because I just don't want to get burned.
They keep doing more.
They do, and it's with people I really like, because obviously I love Willow, huge Willow fan. I really like Sky Blue a lot. Really like Julia. I really like, now we have, and then now House of Black has returned to TV. They showed up during Collision last night, and so they're all back. Julia's on her honeymoon, should be back soon. So I'm really interested to see. And so hopefully it's building to something at Full Gear. Maybe it's a title match against Statlander or something like that. Or maybe it's a tag. Maybe we get like Julia and Sky Blue versus Willow and Chris or something like that. Or I don't, Chris should be defending her title. But I mean, there's good possibilities, but I am cautiously optimistic about what they're doing because they can seem to only have one good women's storyline at a time, and that's kind of been Tony, what Tony Storm's doing.
Yeah,
and then
and clearly that's an either love it or hate it thing because
I love it.
I love it too, I hear a lot of people complaining about it. I'm like, why?
I'm sorry.
Well, then you don't get it.
Right. Daza said, "Is Mira's McGinnis going super hard on Danielson FEC?" Yes, they are, because they were supposed to wrestle at Wembley, but Danielson was not cleared. That was the big rumor going around, was that's when that match is supposed to happen. And then Danielson came back a week later. And so ever since then, Nigel has been like, oh, now you come back because we're not at Wembley. And he's calling Brittle Danielson. And he like I keep saying, because I was like, he's just a Danielson hater. And then last night I was like, when he brought up the Zach Gowen line, I was like, this man has a PhD. He's a player. He's got a player hating degree with honors against Danielson. Yes, he just goes so hard on him. It's very funny to me. So I do think, I don't know if they will wait until Wembley next year for this match to happen, but considering Danielson is probably going to be scaling back after next year, I definitely think that match is happening at some point.
That'd
it would
cool.
be. I hope that they wait till Wembley. I think that would be the perfect place to have it. But
yeah.
I do think that match is coming at some point, and I am ready for it.
I'm into that. I never thought about it that hard, but now I'm like very cool with that.
Yes. Brad said, this is the most effort that Tony has put in any women's division story in AEW's entire run. It's been a long story with twists and turns. Someone else has to be in charge of this. Maybe it's Maria. Maybe it's what is her name? Sarah. Just forgot her last name. But I know Sarah, what is her last name? Why am I blanking on her? But I'm wondering if she's involved. That would be, or even, no, Madison, I think is, I don't say Madison Rain, I think, because she's doing more coaching stuff. I don't know if she's doing story stuff, but whoever he's listening to, please keep listening, because
keep going.
Daza says McGinnis and Danielson had an amazing match in the UK in the ROH days. I have heard, and that's why they wanted to do the thing at Wembley this year, and then Danielson broke his wrist. Yeah. Hey, Colin, we are doing good. So glad that you could stop by. We had a guest at the beginning of the show, Ruthie Jay from NWA. She has a big match at NWA Samhain on Saturday. She is wrestling for the NWA World Women's Championship against Kenzie Page, and so she came on and talked with us for a little bit, which was really cool. And then we fussed about Athena. PWI spot, even though PWI doesn't really matter.
And we talked about Sam's awesome article about Sting's retirement.
Yes, we did talk about Sting too. And so, so we are glad that you're here for any amount of the show. We appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
And then, so is there anything, before I talk about Bound for Glory, is there anything else you want to bring up for Collision and or about
No, because I didn't watch Bound for Glory and probably won't get to it. And
okay.
You can spoil away.
Okay. Colin says Madison Rain being a coach at AEW blows my mind. Me too, Colin. And she actually was on ROH this week because for the Pure Rules match in ROH, they always have 3 judges, and she was a judge this week. And so she's been a judge before for another Pure match, but it's just because she'd been out with an injury. I can't remember if I feel like she also had surgery, but I know she was out for a few months, so she hasn't competed, which is also interesting because Sky Blue is who she was in ROH. I think in AEW too, she was tagging with her, and they were kind of doing some stuff together. So it's interesting to see now Madison is back and we see the stuff going on with Sky Blue. So that might be something to keep an eye. Not that maybe, I don't know if Sky, but with the story, if she's going to be going back and forth between ROH and AEW, or if they're going to keep her more AEW while the story plays out. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so Bound for Glory was last night. There were some big matches. I only heard about some of them, so I will only be spoiling a few of them. So the biggest, I think, well, besides the brand stuff, which we'll talk about, the biggest wrestling as far as who in ring stuff, I guess I will say, Sunny Kiss showed up last night.
Nice.
So Sunny in the Call Your Shot gauntlet match, she came out. Well, the first person that came, so I saw that actually on Instagram was how I got spoiled from that. But then I saw a video come up, and so I had to watch it. One of the entrants last night was Juventud Guerrera.
Oh, jeez.
Like the Juice. I was very excited.
That is so funny. I was just thinking about him because of Talking Shopomania for some reason. He came in my head, and I was like, huh. It's because of Rocky Romero.
Yes, and then I was thinking about, because I think that I had thought about it the other day. Because so if you've watched this show, you know that my match that I really want to happen, I wanted it to happen at Joey Janela's spring break, but it may work better for Effie's Big Gay Brunch. I will take it whoever would like to book this match for me. It's the juiciest match of all time. Originally, I wanted it to be the Juice Juventud Guerrera versus Juice Robinson. But now, to make it even juicier, we have Juicy Finale. So I want this triple threat match so bad. And then Hoovy came back.
Match.
Yes. And then I heard that Hoovy came back this morning, and I was like, oh, I can start. It's time to start my campaign again.
For the juiciest match of all time.
The juiciest match of all time, since we thought maybe it would be better suited for Effie's Big Gay Brunch because it's juice, a brunch theme.
Yeah, I like it.
So we had that. However, it seems like something that Joey Janela would book on spring break. So that's originally where I wanted it, but I want somebody to book this match for me. And now that the Juice was loose in the Impact Zone last night, it reminded me, and I was like, oh. And I saw the other day that Brett from GCW was going to sign the contract for wherever they're having the collective next year in Philly. So it's about that time for them to start putting some matches together. So if Joey Janela and or Effie is watching this, please book the juiciest match of all time for me and me only. It's my gift to you. Don't tell me that we don't have good ideas, because every week
we do have good ideas. You guys even had good ideas in my absence. So, I mean, this show is just a good idea platform. It's a place to get good ideas from.
Yes, it is. So back to Sunny. I'm super excited for Sunny. She looked great. I saw like a little bit of the Impact had a part of the clip, and it's on Twitter too. She came in and she went straight for Kylan King. There was some stuff with Giselle Shaw. Then I saw in the clip that Impact posted, there was some stuff that she did, like a dance off with Bully Ray.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm really excited. And Brad says Impact is the perfect place for Sunny to land. I hope they sign her. I didn't get a chance to read the article, but I saw something about that they are planning to use her more often. So I don't know sounds like there's some sort of deal in place, which I think Sunny would be perfect in Impact, especially with the way things have been going lately. And now they're doing the rebrand and stuff. So I'm really, really excited for Sunny. And we've seen what they've done for Trinity. And so they definitely, AEW dropped the ball big time with Sunny. They fumbled the bag. And so I hope that Sunny's getting paid, and I hope that Impact treats her really, really well. But I was so happy to see her last night. And then they also, in that match, Matt Cardona returned to Impact last night. So I don't know how long he'll be around, but he was pretty involved the last time that he was there. And so I really enjoy what Matt Cardona has done since leaving WWE. He's completely revamped himself. He's the indie god is what he calls himself, and he's all over the place. Like he was in GCW for a long time, and he still does stuff with GCW, because I don't want to make it sound like he's not there. He's still pretty active there. He's been in MLW lately. He's like wrestling in Australia for a promotion over there. Like Matt Cardona, it seems like every time I turn on an indie show, Matt Cardona is there. So he's getting paid and he's working hard and he's doing a lot of stuff. I really enjoy what he's been doing. So it'll be interesting to see what he's doing in Impact, and if he'll be a long-term thing or if he's just coming to just kind of shake things up a little bit and then leave again, which is also possible. Nikki agrees that Sunny Impact is a good place for Sunny. Brad says Sunny and Bully Ray were actually great in the match. Their interactions made me smile. Yeah, it was really interesting. I saw it and I enjoy it. I'm not a Bully Ray fan very much anymore, but I enjoyed that. Okay. Brad says Sean Ross Sapp says Cardona was a one-time appearance for now.
Oh,
Thank you for that. Let's see. Colin, I see your question and I will get back to that because that is actually something we have talked about before, but I'll come back to you in just a minute. Let's see. What else did happen on Impact? Bound for Glory. I did see that ABC, which is Ace Austin and Chris Bay, won the tag team titles back from the Rascals last night, so I'm very happy about that because I love those guys. Jordan Grace did win the Call Your Shot gauntlet match. She called out Trinity. So that will be happening. I don't know if they've already confirmed it for Hard to Kill or if I'm just assuming that's where it will be, because Hard to Kill is their big January show. Trinity did retain over Mickie James last night, which I think was the correct move to be able to be a 5-time knockout champion is something that Trinity needs. Trinity has been a really good champion. She's done a lot for Impact. Impact seems to really like her. So I'm really pleased to see that she retained. And I think that might have been, because I don't know who won between Sabin and Kenta, but I think Brad said something about how it was one of Chris Sabin's best matches or something like. Oh, I do know. I did see, because I saw Speedball's tweet. Speedball face Will Ospreay, and he was talking about how he proves that he belongs at the top, but he's tired of coming up short. So I was not surprised, unfortunately, that Will Ospreay, he's clearly on a tear. So I'm not surprised that he beat Speedball, but I'm sure that match was amazing. I can't wait to go back and watch that one. I think that may have been everything that I've seen. And then, of course, the big news was that Impact is rebranding. They are going back to using TNA. They starting at Hard to Kill. They will be TNA Wrestling again. The video was really well done. There was like a 5-minute clip of how they announced it. It had a lot of the people from NWA, from TNA, from before. And then you had some of the newer stars like Jordan Grace and Josh Alexander who were in it, but then it had Motor City Machine Guns were in it. They had Eddie Edwards and Alicia in there. They had Frankie Kazarian was the one who kind of like made the announcement. Eric Young was in it. So it was really cool to kind of see how they did it. And I enjoy it. I think it was really cool. I don't have a problem with him going back to using TNA. I've seen mostly positive reactions to the announcement, but I have seen some people who are like, why would you go back to TNA when people associate like just blunders and things of that nature with TNA. But apparently there's a younger generation who don't tie it to like LOL TNA and some of the really terrible stuff that was happening when Eric Bischoff was there and Hulk Hogan.
Well, that was going to be my question to you is like, what's the motivation? Like, what do you think the motivation here is? Because I don't watch enough to see, but I just don't. Why?
Yeah, I think that's just the why. I'm not really sure there. I guess like I saw a quote from Scott D'Amore who was like, people still chant TNA at shows, like, so it still has a lot of people are still associate TNA like Impact Wrestling with TNA, I guess is what he was trying to say. Impact under Scott D'Amore is a completely different thing. They have really, I guess I really enjoy Impact Wrestling for the most part. There's a lot of really good stuff there. They have really elevated the knockouts even more. They've done some really great, just, I think the product has improved so much over the last few years. So I'm not sure. So for some of the older generation, especially us who watched, you know, in the 2000s, there is a lot of, sometimes when you hear TNA, you think of LOL TNA, you think of the stuff that they were doing. You think of like, because I was joking with a friend, like, you think of the 6-sided ring. Yes. And that was one of the things like that my friends and I were talking about. I was like, are they gonna bring back the 6-sided ring? Apparently there was something this morning that says no, they are not planning to do that. They will not be bringing that back.
Just because we're bringing back the name doesn't mean we're bringing back the blunders.
Yeah, and so I was joking that if Toby Keith is healthy, because Toby Keith has been dealing with stomach cancer since last year, he seems to be he seems to be healthier now. So it's like, if he's healthy, like, they should put him on Hard to Kill. Not like in a match, like, it would be interesting just to have him like do it like a backstage segment or something like that, and just like kind of joke around about it being TNA or something like that. Like, I think that would be a fun little thing they could do. But like, I think they can kind of lean into that old stuff, but also make it very clear that they are not the old TNA. And so I guess, yeah, I kind of go back and forth. Yeah, because Brad says that he's not sure how he feels about them being TNA. Like, I initially, when I saw it, I really liked it. And I agree with Colin. Some of the best matches were under the TNA banner, especially for me, the X Division stuff. Like, I've always been a huge X Division fan. There's been a lot of really cool stuff there. Obviously, that's where AJ Styles like cut his teeth. That's where AJ Styles became AJ Styles. So we've seen a lot of really, really good stuff there. But sometimes it's hard to, you know, shake off the stuff that they were doing. And some people they haven't given Impact a chance because they do think it's like the old days of the stuff that they were doing.
I know someone who was like that until recent years, because things changed. They realized that things changed and gave it a whirl.
Yeah.
Again.
Nikki said, I still accidentally call them TNA. I can understand why people wouldn't want it though. Yeah, for the most part,
a lot of people, I have a handful of friends who do the same, Nikki. So.
Yeah. So I go back and forth. And so it'll be really interesting to see what they're doing. And like, cause you don't want to lose any momentum of what you've built in the last 5 years. But I understand, of course, wrestling is a lot about nostalgia, because clearly we see it with Sting and, you know, the Hardys and Adam Copeland and stuff like that. But then you see it over, and then in NXT, they relied a lot on some of their older guys to bring in, like they brought back The Undertaker just 2 weeks ago. So they have always, there's the Raw 25, they did like the DX, the 25th anniversary of DX. So they also rely heavily on nostalgia, because that's what wrestling is a lot of, and so it's hard. Sometimes wrestling can't get away from the nostalgia, and they can't get away from some of the older tropes and things like that. But then like, it's nice when it's a balance, when it's not so heavy on that stuff. So I'm really interested to see how Scott D'Amore handles that, and if it's just gonna be like, I don't think the wrestling,
it's certainly making noise, and if that's the plan, then
a lot of people are talking about it. And I think I saw somebody say that the announcement of them being rebranded as TNA had, as of this morning, had like 2 million views on it, which Impact people are talking about Impact. I mean, I know we occasionally
it could be that simple. They just want to shake things up and get people talking. Get people paying attention to the next thing that's happening, because
especially because
that's certainly as soon as it got announced, because you saw Twitter blow up about it.
And and Matthew,
whether you liked it or didn't like it or whatever you wanted to weigh in on, but wrestling Twitter reacted. So.
Yeah, because I'll say it got sent to us in our group text from somebody who was not watching the show. They saw it timeline, and that's how
I saw it separately entirely. I mean, it was
so that's how I saw it, and so that's what I've seen people talking about today. And TNA is back is trending. Chris Sabin tweeted TNA is back last night, and so there is maybe it is just like you said, just a rebrand to get people's attention and to show them that they're not Jeff Jarrett and Dixie Carter.
Yeah, right. Dixie Carter's long gone. We have good wrestlers. We draw talent we draw international talent to our show.
Yeah, we also work with New Japan.
Right.
And we do that type of stuff. They were for a couple of years there, they were doing stuff down in Mexico. There was some crossover. They bring in independent talent all the time. There's always a lot of really good stuff over there. Brad says, for a very big pro women's company, do people still associate TNA with those body parts that Vince Russo named the company after? I would say no.
I think I think some people, when they hear TNA, if they're not wrestling fans, will think that. But if you're a wrestling fan, I don't necessarily think that.
Yeah, and I think if they a lot,
because a non-wrestling fan hears anything about wrestling, they're gonna think that it's weird. Because when you like try to talk to someone about wrestling, it's like trying to talk to them about Twin Peaks. It's like, I can't explain this to you. You just have to watch. Either you like it and you understand, or you don't.
Right. Colin says, if going back to the TNA means we get Rosemary back, then great. Yeah, I really enjoy the Courtney Rush stuff that they're doing, but it is very interesting because Rosemary was such a big part of the Knockouts division that seeing her in a role where she's not that character has been really interesting. But I have a feeling she'll probably go back to being Rosemary at some point. But yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see like what it means to be TNA. Like, what was the point of this? Why are you going back to something that some, like, one demographic of fans associate with crappy wrestling, shitty storylines, and then the other generation who sees TNA as a place where knockouts flourish, a place where the X division is some of the best, where you have your AJ Styles. Sting was there for a while. Like, you have, there's the Aces and Eights storyline, but so like it'll be interesting to see what fans associate it with, especially for those who don't know what Impact has been doing the last few years. And they've got, you have champions like, there was Josh Alexander was the champion for a while. You've got Jordan Grace, you've got Deonna Purrazzo, you've got these really big names there, and they're doing really great work, and they're doing stuff to make Impact be something that you want to watch on a weekly basis. So it'll be really, I'm really interested to see. I was very shocked by the announcement. I don't think anybody saw it coming. And I haven't listened to, I know that Mike Gilbert did a post show last night and he talked about it. And I saw him tweet earlier and he was like, was I too hard on them going back to TNA? And he had a poll of, yes, you're an asshole. Yes, but I still love you. And no, I agreed. But he did it in the context of the whole. So I don't want to, hopefully he'll clip that section, but I haven't, I was like, I want to watch Bound for Glory and I didn't want to be spoiled on what I hadn't seen yet. So I hadn't,
you'll go back.
Yes, I haven't listened, but that was one of the things I wanted to see. I was like, oh, I have to know what Mike thinks about this. And JD.
How is he going to have a show called Brace for TNA?
Exactly. That's not a fun name.
Yeah, that messed up that screwed everything up.
Good thing they've rebranded to the Mike and JD show because
he's still doing Brace for Impact on the Patreon.
So now he's gonna have to.
Now he has to brace for a name change.
Brace for
Sorry, Mike.
Brace for total nonstop action.
Brace for total nonstop.
Doesn't really.
No, it doesn't roll off. But the body parts thing. If you said brace for TNA and like search that online, I think you probably wouldn't get the search results you necessarily.
Probably not. Probably not. Colin says the only way we see the Impact here in the UK is if you join their YouTube channel. They haven't got a TV deal here, which that's unfortunate. I know that I haven't watched the YouTube because they do have it here. So as we were saying earlier, Access is not an easy channel to get for a lot of people in the US because not a lot of packages carry it, or you have to subscribe to a certain tier.
It's a level thing.
It's priced a lot. It's in a tier that's priced a lot higher, and so some people are just like, especially in this economy, are not gonna be, especially when if they subscribe to a million other things, Like, or if they don't have cable at all, like if they just stream in general, like access is not the easiest thing to get a hold of. So you can subscribe to YouTube here. I think it's like $1.99 a month, and you can watch Impact. It starts 30 minutes later than the TV does. So it comes on Thursday nights at 8. So on YouTube, it starts at 8:30, but you don't get any ads from what Josiah was saying, because that's how he is subscribed to it. And
can you watch it back?
I believe so.
Okay.
He was telling, because a friend of ours the other day was asking how to watch Impact, and he was like, "Oh, you can," because I was like, "Oh, it's on Access," and then somebody was like, "You can," and then Josiah was like, "Oh, you can subscribe on YouTube," and it's this. So that's why I know it's like right off the top of my head, because Josiah was just talking about this like 3 days ago. But I think that you can watch it back, and then you still have to purchase the pay-per-view separately. And the pay-per-view, like the pay-per-views are on Fight, so even if you have a Fight TV subscription, you still have to pay the additional. They're not included. Like certain companies like GCW and Wrestling Revolver, like their stuff is all included in your price that you pay, but then there's other things that you have to pay for separately. Like I think if they put Talk and Shop-A-Mania back on there, like I think you would have to pay additionally for that too. And like NWA Samhain is on Saturday, and you have to pay additionally for that. But yeah, so I'm really, really interested to see how that plays out in the next few months. Because the rebrand starts with Hard to Kill in January, which is their other really big pay-per-view that they do. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of lean in. So I'm interested to see if they lean into some of the nostalgia, or if they just completely don't do any of it at all. Like they don't bring in NASCAR drivers
but they just start from here and go forward with it.
Yeah, and like don't bring in
it's just a new rebrand, and it's a new TNA.
So they may not lean it. I won't be surprised. Like I feel like there's probably gonna be some jokes like on commentary, or like Eric Young or Motor City, like somebody making some sort of a reference to it, and then maybe that's as far as it goes. Maybe they just make some jokes about the name change and then don't say anything, like don't lean into the the nostalgia part of it. It'll be so, and we know we're not getting this excited ring, so I guess it's a good or bad depending on your thoughts on this excited ring. But so I believe that
we want to go back to Colin's question, or are we good?
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me, Colin. I did not mean to forget you. Thank you for that. Actually, he had 2 questions. So one was, have they done Matt and Steph versus Nick Ito tag in GCW? No, I believe that has happened. I'm almost 100% positive that if it has not happened, it's getting right. I'm pretty sure that it has happened because and I know Nick Gage made Maki her own pizza cutter, and it has a little bow on it. And it's
that's right. You told me about that.
And then she's used it a few times, but I believe that they did the match with Matt Cardona and Steph DeLander already. I want to say yes. I believe I have seen that. Okay, so Colin, your question was, what are your opinions of Billy Starks in ROH? He's not a fan. Have her wrestle more instead of being Athena's gopher. I like it a lot because Athena is the best women's wrestler in the world. She is the best women's wrestler between both companies, unless maybe they were going to put her under Toni Storm, which clearly is not happening. So there is nobody better. If Sting is going to, if Nick Wayne is going to be under Sting, Christian, and Darby, then Billy should be under Athena. There's nobody better. The minion training stuff is fun. I get it's not for everybody, but it works for ROH. It works for Athena. Athena has done her minion thing for a while. She's had her husband dressed up as a minion before. She made him. It's on her Twitter. I can't remember if it's her pinned tweet, but there's stuff. So that thing kind of runs for people who are fans of Athena, like outside of wrestling. I think the minion thing is something that Athena fans enjoy in general. So I think she's elevating other women in the process, like because I've mentioned a few weeks ago, she was wrestling, like they were wrestling against the Renegades, who were still trying to kind of find themselves. And so they're getting to work opposite of Athena. And she seems to be elevating other women. And I think it's really, really smart. And I don't think that there's anybody better that Billy could be learning from. It's just my personal opinion.
I can't really weigh in because I don't watch Sam Does, though. And they had a good conversation about it last week with Sam and Kyle had a pretty good conversation about some of that stuff too. So definitely.
But thank you for the question, Colin. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And thanks for hanging out, you guys. Thanks for stopping in and hanging out and being interactive with us. We really appreciate it.
We do. I always enjoy the conversations we have with you guys. It's always
look
forward. I always look forward to getting your opinions on stuff too, because we all seem to kind of watch the same things, and so it's cool to kind of see what your opinions are on stuff too. So we appreciate that.
And I do my absolute best, guys, to be in that channel in the Discord and talking to you too, because I do appreciate the fact that you guys do have conversations.
And just because I'm not in Discord does not mean I don't appreciate.
And I report back to Sam. It's not as if she doesn't know what's going on.
I'm glad that Mel is
I'm very good at making sure she knows how good and awesome you guys are, even when we're not here on the YouTube, but also in the Discords and places. So
no, I really appreciate that you guys are active and carrying the Powerbombshells torch over there.
I think, to be really honest, I think a lot of some of the stuff that's happened over the last couple of weeks for us that's been really positive has been a big part of it is that you guys are there with us and that you're enjoying the show and that people are like talking about us, and that is huge and it's super duper appreciated. I know I speak for both of us when I say thank you.
Yes, you do. And Colin said he keeps forgetting about the Discord. Look, I haven't gone over there because it's just one more app and it's one.
Sam has a lot of regular
I do need to go over there. I know there's a lot of positivity over there, which is really
Mel doesn't have the same kind of shoot job life, so Mel has a little more time to be the engager.
Hey, I appreciate that. I'm glad that you do.
So that's where I pick up the slack, so that I'm not just a total I'm not just some chick with a hat.
There's more to Mel, okay?
Although congratulations to Nikki for being the first person to ever guess a hat, and there was no collusion whatsoever.
Yes, there was no
I've been thinking about
Bombshells date. I was already in here
to Sam and Nikki this week.
I was already in here. Nikki was not around. Mel and I were talking. We were catching up because we haven't talked in a while, and we were prepping for our interview with Ruthie. And so Nikki did not know. Oh no! Colin said, "Sam, fix your internet."
You've been a little roboty and weird, but I think it's because of the stuff we talked about. So
yes,
it's okay on the feed from my spot.
Yeah, it's the. I don't know. That's actually a good thing it was doing it before. We were testing out an internet from another company, but I believe it was doing it. It's done it the last few weeks, and that was a different company. However, I will keep an eye on it so I can report back and be like, I'm not keeping your dumb internet if you're gonna.
You're gonna suck.
Nikki says, "Yay me! What do I win?"
I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'll have to come up with something. I did speak with the gentleman who did our thingy this week because yes, bragging rights forever. You always, bragging rights is big. That's what we're playing for in our fantasy league. So
yes, and a belt that.
So winner chicken dinner is what you get for me. Good job, Nikki. Here's your digital pat on the back.
There you go. That's what you get. All right, so we will be here next week. We should be doing our Halloween show because it'll be right before. Hopefully we'll get some guests lined up like we did last year, because we definitely have to bring back the story.
We want to book a horror
to have us do the collective horror story
that was fun
that we wrote last year. So we'll have to bring that back. But so we will be here next week Sunday at 1:00, probably in Halloween costumes, unless I can't find what I'm looking for, and I'm going to be really sad if I have to just put on random.
I'm definitely going to be in one because I'm doing something after. So I want to be ready.
So listen, next week if I show up in random cat ears or a witch hat or something, mind your business.
That would be hilarious.
So we'll see. But we'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks,
and go vote in our Twitter poll.
That's right. We'll put that together. I promise. I will put that together.